So a theory I have that goes along with the mighty and strong one. First of all, I believe Moses was a mighty and strong one. Okay. And so things that he did can help us know what's going to happen with the mighty and strong one. In fact, in 2 Nephi 3, it likens the mighty and strong one to Moses in multiple aspects, right? So this is not just coming out of nowhere. But anyways,
right.
So I see various patterns that have to do with, I don't have a good name for the one before the mighty and strong one. Maybe the preparer.
Elias.
Sure. Yeah, it's probably a better one. It's just I always get the Elijah and Elias always mixed up. Their names are too close.
Yeah. Well, Elias is actually a calling. Elijah and Elisha were prophets.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's
Elias is a calling.
Okay. Well, I see two callings: the preparer and the mighty and strong one, and then
Absolutely.
and then the Messiah one, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I'm taking a little sidetrack, but 3 measures of meal, I think, also goes along with that from the New Testament. Yeah. 3 has to do with redemption.
Mhm.
I believe that's part of the reason that pattern is there, is because 3 is redemption. It's the 3rd time we get the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you got a 3 and a 3. During the 3rd 2000 millennium section, after that, that's when you get the Messiah. But anyways, so the thing I was going to say, there's a lot of patterns in the scriptures to help us recognize the mighty and strong one. And along with this, where I stated before, this is me, believe the reason why David could not build the temple is because David was the mighty one and not one representing the mighty one, and the mighty one doesn't do the temple. And so Yeshua gave an excuse. If David hadn't had that problem, he would have said something else. Okay, that's my personal opinion. Okay, along with that, there's all these arguments about why Moses couldn't go into the promised land. Okay,
Yeah,
I
he's
believe
mighty.
the real reason is because he was the mighty and strong one, and he is not to do that. In fact, Nephi in 3 Nephi 11, he's the mighty and strong one. And guess what? He didn't keep his calling of the head of the church. His calling was changed to an apostle, which is outside Zion. Nephi is the mighty one in that time frame and was not allowed to be in Zion, just like Moses wasn't. Say, that's the pattern, if you ask me. Of course, here I am stating it.
But then there is this to consider with that. That's very, very interesting insights. But there is this to consider, and that is Enoch was a mighty and strong one, and he was within Zion.
I haven't.
Well, I mean, his list of
we'd have to look. I don't know if I would consider him a mighty and strong, or the Messiah one.
Or a Messiah type. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Because
we'd have to go look at that more.
Melchizedek was also a Messiah type.
Right. There's various types out there, and so we'd have to dig into that further. But I do see your point. If Enoch was a mighty and strong one, it would possibly go against that. But at the same time, they didn't stay on earth, right? They went up into heaven.
No.
And so we'd have to get into details on that one. I haven't looked into that idea.
Noah's an Adam.
Adam. Okay. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of things with the flood is a recreation story or history.
Right.
The things that are brought out, it's a recreation. because
Hmm.
if you pay attention, there's a lot of parallels to the creation with Adam. Noah is another Adam. I'm sure he's other things too, but a big thing that he has.
Again, just because somebody does mighty and strong acts does not make them a mighty and strong one type.
Correct. It just like all the prophets have attributes that are like the Messiah, right? That typify of the Messiah to bring us to him. But anyways, so since we're on that subject, I thought I'd just lay that out there a little bit. I think another reason why Moses didn't die is because when you go look at Alma 40, he would have to stay dead, and Moses went to the mountain transfiguration with Yeshua.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I know it happened. But for that to happen, considering Alma 40, Moses couldn't die.
Just like Elijah never tasted death, and he was there at the Mount of Transfiguration.
Correct. So that goes along with Alma 40.
Well, why wasn't Alma there then? Because they say he never tasted death.
Yes, that is in the Book of Mormon, and I don't know any reason for that. In fact, I also, along those lines, I don't know why it had to be Moses and Elijah that was out there on the Mountain Transfiguration. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't. The scriptures don't give a lot of details.
Yeah.
Right? It just
Yeah,
tells us it
exactly.
happened. It doesn't really say much of what was going on.
The thing about the Bible is that it keeps us squarely in the realm of action.
Well,
as opposed to a lot of times it doesn't tell us why God does.
Sure. Right. So there's a lot of the Bible that's descriptive, just telling us what happened. And then there's other parts that are prescriptive, as in, here's what you're supposed to do, right? There's a combination of both. And we have to use our intelligence that Yahweh gave us to know one from the other, right? So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But my point is it doesn't spend the Bible does not spend a lot of time trying to tell us why God did what he did.
No, in a lot of cases not, because I think part of the reason is if you studied, you would know why, right?
Exactly.
And also, I think to go along with that, Yahweh teaches these things to diligent disciples, not
They're the ones who diligently
not the lazy
seek.
learner ones.
Not the ones who just want to show up to not the ones who just want to show up to a presentation and get told everything that they're supposed to believe.
Correct, which is from pagan traditions.
Right.
That Christianity adopted when
Yes, and that's the comfort cycle right there. It's don't let me expend any effort of my own. It's lazy is what it is, and
but at the same time, when you're presenting completely new ideas to a certain group of people, that format can be used.
Sure. But so in the book of Acts, when the people met, they did it like it's described in Moroni 6:9. Seriously, they did. And it was later when the paganism came in.
Somebody falling asleep in the window and falling out.
Oh well, yeah, okay. So I believe that can also point us somewhat back to Lazarus.
Yeah, that's true.
When Paul, because the miracles that the prophets do are actually mimicking Yeshua and his teachings and his plan for us. They're not just incidental. I wanted to do this.
Right.
And so I don't know for sure, but I think that can get tied to Yeshua raising Lazarus, to be honest.
I think I can see that.
but I'm not so sure. That's not one that I've really spent a lot of time thinking about, but that's a possibility for me.
It's an
on tying it back.
interesting, yeah.
But these
Interesting.
histories that they put in the scriptures are not there accidentally. They're there to help you start seeing connections, because there's a million ways you could write these histories, but they wrote it in a way so that those who have ears to hear and eyes to see will see Yeshua. When Yeshua stated, "The scriptures testify of me," he was not kidding. They
There's a narrative. The scriptures are a history, but they're a history with a narrative.
well, they're a history written by prophets with an agenda. I said
Yes,
agenda to
help-
point us to Yeshua.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. It's a history with a narrative.
Oh, okay. I guess I think it's something a little different with narrative, but I guess you meant the same thing.
Yeah, that is what I meant, though. I guess you're right. An agenda to point people to Christ is probably a more accurate way of some.
Right. It's all over. I mean, if you guys want, we could go pick a story either in Genesis or the Book of Mormon, and a lot of them I can show. I don't know it for all of them, but a lot of them I can. It's just the more you know Yeshua, the more you will see him in the scriptures, and I'll just leave it at that.
Interesting.
It takes time and thought and deep ponderings, as Joseph Smith stated that we should do, right? Which is contrary to this lazy learning that's so prevalent and getting even worse now. In fact, in House Out of Order, someone posted how seminary is, not even requiring them to read all the scriptures now.
Yeah.
And they were calling it one thing, but I think it's more along the lines of brainwashing, to the fact that they're controlling more what's going in the mind, aka. So go ahead, Matt.
They don't separate young men from young women anymore
in church meetings.
Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't been.
Yeah, Matt
Matt
went to his priesthood meeting, and there were young women in there.
Yeah, Johnny did.
Yeah, Johnny went to his priesthood meeting, and there were young women in there.
So it's definitely not the fifth Sunday, because it's just the second
Oh.
one, and it's February, so there wouldn't be 5. But anyways, because I remember the fifth Sunday they would combine priesthood and relief society together. But anyways,
no, it's for the youth. For the youth now, it seems that the young women and the priesthood meet together.
Okay, well, whatever.
It's one of those really weird things. Yeah, after next week, I don't think we'll be going for a while. I feel very uncomfortable there anymore.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pause. Okay.
Yep.
So it's interesting with bishops, with their special endowment of the Spirit, as they have the keys, that when people talk to them and share their issues with them, that their response is something like a talk from, who was it again?
It was Elder Bednar.
Bednar's talk about, well, just be a good little boy or girl, that if it makes you feel good, then it's from Yahweh. And that makes me think of Nephi and Laban, and how Nephi was told by the Spirit to execute the punishment for broken law that Laban did, and Nephi shrunk at that. He didn't feel good. And so my question for bishops like that, was that actually from Yahweh according to that teaching? from, I just forgot his name again, just probably because I don't like him.
Elder
But
Bednar.
Bednar.
Yeah,
I'm
can
not going
tell-
to call
and
him
I can
Bednar.
tell you-
I'm not
and I can
giving him
tell
a
you-
title elder, but I mean that's so it's so contradictory. But
I can tell you that the instruction to kill Laban did come from Yahweh,
oh, I completely agree with you then.
including the method for his deliverance, which is found in the law governing sanctuary cities, which states that if the Lord deliver a man into your hands, that you may flee to the sanctuary city and be safe in the Lord.
Hmm.
In the Book of Mormon, it specifically states that I knew that God had delivered Laban into my hands. The Spirit
Yeah.
told him that God had delivered Laban into his hands and that God had sanctuary for him.
Yeah, and that's the promised land.
And that
That's
was the
the
promised land. So they were, and so the thing, and so we see that not only did the Holy Ghost not command someone to violate Torah, the Holy Ghost was completely in line with every requirement of Torah.
Well,
Is the Holy Ghost completely in line with every requirement of Torah? Because the Holy Ghost is the law.
the Holy Spirit is the Torah. But
The Holy
in-
Spirit is the
in-
Torah. This is why it's completely in line.
right, but I'm going to disagree just a little bit. In the history of this event, it says the Spirit. It doesn't say the Holy Ghost. It doesn't say
That's
the Holy
true.
Spirit. It doesn't say either one of those. It says the Spirit. I actually believe that Spirit was Yahweh in this case. That's a personal opinion.
And that would make sense as well. That would actually make sense as well.
Just the fact that he was telling him something this so specific as that, I do believe it was the angel of Yahweh, aka Yahweh, aka Yeshua, actually stating that. And he was a spirit at that point. He had not gotten his tabernacle yet.
And why
Yeah.
the surety that he knew that it was God who had delivered Laban into his hand?
That would explain the surety as well.
Yes, it would. I hadn't thought about that part,
Why
but
he
yes,
knew.
that would explain the surety. Versus
Good
just
point.
a thought in your head, right? You could question that. Where if the spirit was actually Yahweh, that would explain the surety.
Yep.
But in some of these terms, you have to read context to know which one it is, because it's all these overloaded words. And within our own culture, it's easy, right? Because we grew up with it. With someone else's culture, which the Book of Mormon is for us, anyways. You have
But
to
at the
put
same
more
time,
effort and thought into it.
Yeah, I was just also trying to tailor that to these people who say that we need to give precedence to the Holy Ghost over the written law, because the Holy Ghost, after all, commanded Nephi to kill when the law says thou shalt not kill.
Well, no, actually, the law says thou shalt not murder. That's a bad translation.
Exactly. That's that's another refutation. But the point is, I'm dealing with this idea. I was trying to get a double kind of thing in there.
Sure. But I mean,
double refutation.
there's actually two
Or-
words
or-
in Hebrew for, there's a word for kill and there's a word for murder, and the one in the Ten Commandments is murder. Although translations have changed, and as far as it's translated correctly, even as far as it's translated correctly in our current culture, even, right? Because the culture has changed since
Well,
1611.
also think about it this way: when Christ gives the further expounding of the law, "Thou shalt not kill," he who is angry with his brother hath already committed murder within his heart.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
actually spells it out. Even if you don't have the Hebrew word, he kind of spells it out in the English text, even in the English text.
Oh, sure, sure. And the English kill in these bad translations can't be murder because you see them capital punishment for one, which is actually directly commanded. If man spills the blood of man, man shall spill his blood, right?
By man shall his blood be shed.
Yeah.
So it can't be killed. If you think God is consistent, anyways, where some people use that to show he's not, but that's because they're going off of a bad translation. The Hebrew actually states murder. It's just in 1611 when King James was done, kill and murder were the same word. There wasn't a different word for that two things back then. They also didn't have J's, but that's a whole nother subject.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
I'm just more to bring out the language has changed is more what I'm trying to bring out with that.
Yeah.
But also back to Nephi, the things that he was listing, like the justifications, right, for doing it are things that are required in the law for what he did. So,
I knew that he had tried to kill us.
He had stolen our property.
Yeah.
but though I find it interesting, there are supposed Torah follower and Book of Mormon believers that will twist this event and say, well, he just killed him, right? It was against the law. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you not know the law like you claim to study? He's following the law. Anyways, sorry. It's just,
Well,
it's ironic how some people claim to believe in the Book of Mormon and Torah and then not know this stuff,
yeah.
right? It's just baffling to me because I think I'm an amateur. It's just I study it where these guys claim they're experts and then they
Well,
don't
the
know it.
interesting thing is that there are people who claim to love the law who cannot recognize the law when it's written in front of their
Right.
face.
Well, a lot of them who claim to love the law, they actually love Phariseeism.
Well,
They actually love the oral law because that's what they're pushing.
I'm actually talking about people like Seventh-day Adventists and what have you. They claim to love the law, and yet they do not recognize the law when it's written right there in front of their face. And when you try to point it out, they don't accept what you point out.
Yeah, Seventh-day Adventists are interesting. They'll claim they claim the moral law, not the ceremonial, but Paul kept the ceremonial after he was a believer.
Right. Exactly.
Except the law of Moses. He didn't
Right.
do the law of Moses, daily performance and ordinances. And he
Well,
actually
nor did
stated
he-
it was done. He stated
Nor did
multiple
he,
ways.
nor did he, and he actively fought against circumcision for all Christians.
Yes, that was done away also. And I know that's a controversial subject, but
But I actually, I given where it falls in the Bible, and I know you've said this, so I'm going to go out and say that this is.
you're gonna you like my theory on that more now. I see.
I like that theory. I like that theory that it's actually a punishment, that the law of circumcision was actually a punishment for Abraham's lack of faith in going out and marrying a second wife to have his seed.
Well, I don't know if she was actually a wife. She was a concubine. She wasn't a wife.
Yeah. Well,
The fact that
you
she was
could
supposed to
easily
be
put her-
Sarah's child shows that she was a concubine. But anyway,
Yeah, she
that's a
was a
whole nother
concubine.
subject.
Well, that's
Right. And I don't
But actually,
I
let
don't
Ben
think
finish.
that and
Let
the
Ben
Lord
finish the
and she
thought.
wasn't given to Abraham by the Lord necessarily either.
No, she was given by Sarah.
Correct. So that would put her under concubine status.
that's true.
Right. Because it was another woman, which is also, I'll add, is what the elites do. They have their wives give their husbands concubines, which actually is what Brigham Young did too, because part of the ceremony for polygamy was having the first wife give the additional whatever you want to call them. I'll just leave it at that because they weren't wives.
Well,
That's from the occult.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
that's what Brigham Young was twisting the restoration into. The occult
Well, he had to.
Satanism.
He
well,
had to. He had to.
he's
Well, yeah, he was
returning.
taking orders from Jesuits, but anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was returning. He was returning the restoration to its Catholic roots,
Uh
or to the Catholic, to the
Yeah.
Catholicism is meant to.
Somewhat.
Well,
Somewhat. But some of that stuff was pretty far
the
out
Catholic
there.
roots is the paganism, occult, Satanism.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my point.
I just would have said it more distinctly, but I'll agree with you because you just have to define what the Catholic roots are.
Yeah.
But I think you would agree with my definition of that, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay. All right. Anyways, yeah, this stuff is disgusting.
Yeah.
What Brigham Young did, and
No.
he was a tyrant and a horn dog, and the worst thing that happened to the restoration. Most of what people hate about what they think about the restoration came from his stone cold, lustful heart. And I see Brigham Young as King Noah through Mosiah 11 through 12. He is the modern day Noah. And the Brighamites are the modern day Lemhites, or however you would say that.
Limhites.
Lemhites, yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a good way to say it. Limhites.
Yeah, and the Community of Christ, RLE's church, are the modern Zoramites who came and didn't have the priesthood because they couldn't baptize. Right.
But believe
Anyways.
themselves to be the privileged people.
Yeah.
So
Anyways,
speaking of all that, are you done with your thought? Can I ask about the
Sure.
temple?
Sure.
Okay. I just didn't want to interrupt, but so I did read a blog this week or a post from someone about the LDS temple, and they were explaining that it literally is worshiping Satan because of the way that they're like have to be excited about the fact that Satan beguiled Eve. And so from what I hear, they've changed
I know they've been changing it, so I don't, from back in my day, I don't remember anything on that. But one thing for sure, they take glory in the sin as they're covering themselves with the tree that they sinned from. Instead of Yeshua's clothing.
Yeah,
so it's really subtle, right? But if you're really Yeshua's people, you leave that behind. You don't cover it yourself with it, which is what they're doing. They're covering themselves with their sin. But I don't remember anything along that point on Eve, but I know they've been changing that role since I've removed my name.
Yeah, I know that from what I've heard about the new changes, I guess there's a new change like just recently, like this week.
Either it starts Tuesday or it started Tuesday. I don't remember if it's
I'd heard that they say now that you are Adam and you are Eve.
Well, when I was there, they
last
said
time I
something
checked,
along,
I was gosh.
well, it was when I was there, it was you were supposed to consider yourself as Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've changed that wording. And I think the purpose on that is not to say that you're both man and woman, though that could be part of it, the Baphomet. But more how I took it, and I think most people would take it, even if there is Baphomet intended in it, is that you're supposed to see yourself in those roles and learn from what they're going on, kind of like we see things in the scriptures and apply it to ourselves.
Right.
That's how I took it back then. I think that I would imagine that's how most people take it, even if there's more intended to that. Like I just brought out one possibility.
One thing that I learned from the lesson in priesthood today is that the brethren of the church teach all manner of false doctrine, and they rely upon the cognitive dissonance
Of the,
of the leadership, of the local leadership.
to fix it to fix it for them.
Sure. And they say all these crazy things too, which is a technique of
But-
Satan to see what can pass, and if it doesn't, it's a joke, or he just, slides it and doesn't think about it. In fact, if you go study occults, these cult leaders do that very exact thing.
If you, and here's the other thing.
In fact, just one
You
last
know
thing.
that
In my Charlie Chocolate Factory, I bring that out. That's how Willy Wonka's acting, and it's not by accident.
Right.
He knows his master, because that's how his masters worked with him.
So, but the way that you can tell that the temple worship is actually pagan or devil worship is by the symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's by the symbols that are in the building.
Well, and the
on
teachings,
the-
but a lot of people will try to see good in them. I did when I was a member.
But that symbol
There's
above-
not, but they try
that
to.
symbol above the veil, even if they still had the wings on the angel, that is Aphrodite on her shell getting
Yeah.
taken.
Well, and then she's
to-
got the two other. Let's go get the picture. I don't remember exactly how they have it there. So instead of going off a vague memory, let me go get an actual picture.
Yeah, I shared that. I shared that in.
Oh, but do you want to finish the thought about the circumcision? Why it was, because it was only through Abraham, and we can
Yeah.
see through,
It's
or
only
I can
through
finish it, or
Abraham's
you can
seed.
finish it. It's fine.
It's only through Abraham's seed that it's required. And so it's related to Abraham. It's related to Abraham's sin. And it's the first child on whom it is required is Ishmael. And then all the men at the same time, all the men of Abraham's house have to be circumcised at the same time as Ishmael.
So I would even go more when Moses was doing or coming back to Egypt to to bring him out of slavery. We know that Jethro's line wasn't practicing that, and Jethro's line is not of Abraham.
No,
In fact,
and they had, and Jethro
Moses's wife told Moses, "You're a bloody husband because of the blood that of the circumcision that had to be done." Jethro's line was not doing it because it was specific, in my opinion, and I see things for it. Is because
circumcision.
Brigham, I've got Brigham on my brain right now. Sorry,
Wow.
Abraham.
Abraham had multiple wives, and this
Or well, I wouldn't call it a wife.
multiple. Either way,
Concubine, but anyway.
either way,
He had multiple
he
cohabitants.
had
Yeah.
multiple cohabitors.
Yeah.
And this is his punishment. This
Yeah,
is the
and his
punishment
line,
for
because
funny seed.
we can see his line had problems with it too, right?
Mhm.
Which Yahweh did say he will punish generations for his sin, and a lot of it's because they learn the sins of their fathers, and
Yep.
they learned that sin, sadly.
Yep.
So anyways,
And before Abraham could approach his exaltation, he had to put away his concubine.
yes, and he did. Same with Israel, Jacob.
Mhm.
And David went no more unto his. And yeah, I don't even need the GST to show that one. I can show that with the King James version, but JST makes it more clear. But
Well, a
anyways.
lot of that also had to do with the fact that Absalom slept with all of his wives.
Yeah, that's another subject, which is against Torah.
Yeah.
But we could
Yeah.
because some people try to use that as proof that polygamy is correct, but Torah, and I'll just say this real quick since you brought it up. Torah actually specifically states against that you are not to have sex with your mother-in-law, your sister, or your sister-in-law.
Mhm.
It actually specifically says that. So Yahweh would not give that if he actually says that's against the law, because otherwise he's telling someone to break the law, and he
Right.
doesn't do that.
Right, thereby making himself a liar,
Correct.
which would never happen. Which would never happen.
Correct. But I know there's Torah, probably more Pharisee or law believers
The
believe in polygamy and the
Pharisaic-
Book of Mormon, but they
Pharisaic Kabbalistic.
they use that instance to try to say it's okay. Look at this, but that was not a good thing. In fact, in Torah it actually even states that a curse is someone will go, I don't remember exactly how it states, but will go enjoy your wife, to put it
Yep.
nicely. That's a curse for breaking the law.
Mhm.
So that's what happened. It was
Yeah,
the curse
so-
that
but-
happened.
But circumcision is related, but circumcision is based on when it's put down, is clearly related to polygamy.
Or things like unto it, right?
Yep.
Right. Concubinage, et cetera, et cetera.
Because
Yeah.
that's, I believe that's what Abraham did, not polygamy, concubine. And then when he had a wife after Sarah died, that wasn't polygamy, right? Because it wasn't,
No, that
it
wasn't,
was not
because
serial,
that's all
that
we
was
know.
parallel. But anyways, just to use
Right.
funny terms. But
yeah,
I would also
but
say his two wives is actually prophecy too. And we can get into this because I even see this in more detail. But Sarah, Jews. His other wife, I don't remember the name, the Gentiles. Hagar.
Yep.
That's the Gentile, times of the Gentile. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, here's another interesting little tip that goes along with prophecy. Sarah, before she died, stopped talking to Abraham after the event that represents Yeshua's atonement. In fact, it wasn't right away. It was some after, like 40 years, like the sign of Jonah.
Here's another interesting, that is really cool. Another
No,
interesting.
it wasn't 40. Sorry, I got a little mixed up. It was a 3.5 years. Sorry, I got a little mixed up.
Another
This
interesting
is off
thing
the
that
cuff.
draws, another interesting.
But she stopped talking to him, just like there was to stop talking of Israel and Yahweh.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Stephen's death marked that.
Yeah, the interesting, there's another interesting thing that bears into that whole idea of Hagar being Gentiles and what have you. And that is that Ishmael also receives the blessing of the Lord.
Yeah. Hagar's did not.
Of great princes coming from his line.
Right, but Hagar's did not, huh?
Now, Ishmael is Hagar's son.
Or maybe I'm getting old.
Isaac,
the name.
Rachel, Isaac is Sarah's son.
Right.
Ishmael.
No. So that's the concubine. So I got the names mixed up. After Sarah died, Abraham married someone. It wasn't the concubine.
Yeah.
It was somebody else.
No, he married another woman. But I'm
that
talking
other woman
about
is the Gentiles, is what I'm saying.
Oh, the other woman is the Gentiles.
Yeah, the
Oh,
other
okay.
wife, not the concubine, the other wife. Is the
Okay,
Gentiles.
I see.
And
Oh,
that
never
line
mind. Mine doesn't really have anything to say.
but that other line didn't get blessings.
Yeah.
From my
Yes,
No.
recollection. I'm not an expert on that aspect.
Ishmael actually did receive there's actually practically a whole chapter dedicated to a blessing on Ishmael.
Oh yeah, but that's off of the concubine. That's
Yeah,
a different
but
issue.
the Gentile line got no blessing. You're right. The other
Right.
line.
I don't believe so, but I'm not an expert on that. Just like
No,
in the Book of Mormon, the Gentiles are spoken. I'm trying to think of the
They
right
have
word.
no blessing unless they're adopted into Israel.
Yeah, that's a That's right.
Yeah.
Which goes
They
along
have
with
no blessing.
which
They
goes
have
along
no
with what
blessing.
happened with Abraham's second wife, not the concubine, the second wife,
Second wife, yeah.
right? No
Yep, yep.
blessing unless
They
they
had
become
yeah,
Israel.
but- yeah.
Just
No
like
blessing on the Gentiles unless they become Israel.
yeah,
Right.
which goes along with prophecy. Anyways,
Boom.
these histories, like I'm trying to get in people's head, they're prophecy. They really are.
Mhm.
These people saw these prophets knew the plan, and they were trying to tell it to us.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
anyways,
I
that's
think,
cool, huh?
I think, yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. I think it's time for sacrament.
Okay.
I'm ready to drink some wine.
All right. Okay, I'm pausing. So, just to go off of Ben's funny statement, okay, but if we are Yahweh's children, we will have everlasting burnings in his bosom, because I mean that's just what it says, right? And
Mhm.
wine is causes a burning in our bosom. It's very symbolic of being his children, being accepted into his house, and the joy that goes along with it, and also how it changes from sweet to bitter. There's just a
Yeah.
lot to the symbolism of wine.
Yes.
You're missing out if you don't use it, as Dean C 89.5. Is it 5? I forget my numbers. I have to go double check. In fact, since I'm bringing it up, let's double check. Oops. No, 5 is not by commandment. It's 7. Oh no, 2. Dang it! It's been a while. 2 is not by commandment. 5 is using wine for the sacrament. Okay. So with that, we're gonna pause. Okay, so Kesley had a question about mushrooms. So this is a controversial on kosher keepers. Okay, I do not. Now I will admit I might have a bias here, but I will explain why I actually believe it's true. But I've never liked mushrooms from when I was a kid, and still don't. Okay, so I may have a bias, just to put that out there. Okay. But a pattern I see, and I have this. I don't talk about the pattern on my kosher resource page, but I do have some things on my resource page that actually does deal with mushrooms. But a pattern I see is that predators and garbage cleaners are not kosher. Okay. The only thing that are, well, except for fish is kind of a weird situation, because fish is a little different, but in general, this applies. Okay, because those who eat other animals are not kosher. So like a lion, it's not kosher. It's a predator. Wolves are not kosher. They're a predator. I mean, there's more rules to what's kosher and what's not, but I don't know any single animal that's considered a predator that's kosher. Fish can be a little vague because sometimes fish eat other fish, right? And other little insects. So fish are somewhat of an exception on that. But on land animals and birds, that's true. Predator, they're excluded. Okay. But the sea world is kind of a different world. Also,
Could I ask a question real quick? Isn't there
Sure.
something in the kosher laws that say fish without scales are a no-go?
yeah, there is. Fish without scales are not kosher.
That would be shark.
That's shark and eel also.
What
Eels
about
don't-
catfish? They do not have scales.
Say that one more. Catfish.
Catfish.
Yes, they do.
I don't know that one off the top of my head, so I'll take your word for it.
Lime skin, which if you eat is very disgusting to the taste.
Okay.
I've never had one, so I don't know.
I had a
some.
poorly prepared catfish and it was horrible.
Oh, okay.
So for Matt, catfish is now not kosher.
No.
So, don't eat it. If it doesn't have scales, you don't eat it. I've had eel in sushi before I was kosher, or kept the kosher laws, and I liked it, but I will never eat it again because it's
Right.
not kosher. I still eat sushi, but I'm very careful what sushi I eat.
Mhm.
It's mainly salmon. That's what I eat. There's some others, but I mean, salmon's the big sushi that's pretty much everywhere and is kosher, right? Because the shrimp, which is common for sushi, that's definitely not kosher. That's a sea insect, and eating insects is just disgusting.
It's a sea cleaner.
Yeah, it's a sea cleaner. It's a sea pig, so to speak, because pigs are garbage eaters, just like shrimp are.
Mhm.
So now to mushrooms. Mushroom is a cleaner. It eats rotting plants.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so for me, now I stated my bias, right? But I'm also trying to explain why I actually believe it's correct. It's a cleaner. In addition, it does not have seeds. It has spores.
Mm.
If you want to get into I think that's in the Genesis account,
The
creation account, if I remember correctly. In fact, the creation account, if you look at it closely, it even brings out kosher, one of the kosher rules in it, and it's a little tricky to see, but Noah definitely does, because he has a pair of the unclean and 7 pair of the clean, because Noah ate the clean. If he only brought 1 pair of the clean, we wouldn't have the clean because he ate them. In fact,
Right.
on top of that, after he got off the ark, he did sacrifices of the clean. In fact, the only thing that can go on a sacrifice on the altar of Yahweh is clean.
Yes.
And we are a temple. So there's that connection also.
Yep.
But because mushroom is a cleaner, I will not eat it. Now, most of everything else I didn't like as a kid, like onions, I'm starting to like onions. I didn't like mustard as a kid. Now I prefer mustard in various
Mhm.
things. The only thing that I still will not eat as a kid is a mushroom.
Yeah.
Mainly because I believe it is not kosher, because it is a cleaner.
Okay.
It eats rotten food or rotting plants, just like a pig and shrimp and other things along those nature.
Mhm.
So I won't, but I will
Okay.
tell you, some people who strive to keep kosher do keep it. And I think so. This is the post right here that kind of helped me come to that understanding. Are mushrooms
Okay.
unclean? So that's a good one. And then just kosher in general, you LDS people, listen to your leaders. Don't eat swine or pig. As Brigham Young and George Truesdale and George Buchanan taught.
I just opened up one of those and it doesn't work. The link.
The mushroom one?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh,
It's like
well,
401 error or something. 404, whatever.
let's see if I have it in my OneNote, because sometimes I'm in a habit of keeping more. Yeah, so let's see if it's the same one. Hope of Israel. Yeah, I'll republish that one. In fact, maybe I'll republish it soon for you so you can read it if you want.
Okay.
Because I can show you. I have it in my OneNote. I'm in a habit of keeping things that I find meaningful more because of these types of issues. They disappear. So I'll republish that one. In fact, I'll republish it even before I finish the current one the J. Hilton one that I'm trying to take my notes and put into a full-fledged post that I'm bringing you up in, that you gave me permission for, right? But
Yes.
so that way you can read it, because you probably just didn't read it right there.
Yeah.
I'll republish that. I don't know why they're doing that, because I've seen more places doing that, which is kind of sad. Anyways, I'll republish that for you so
Okay.
you can read it. But the main idea is they're a cleaner. I don't remember if that's the word that they use, but that's a common thing for these type of animals, generally
Mhm.
animals, but I would also consider plant. And they don't have seeds; they have spores.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
So to get back to Ben's funny comment about eating and drinking. Wait a minute. What did 2 Nephi 28 say about that? Uh-oh. Anyway.
Yeah, oh no. Eating, drinking, and being merry. Oh no.
Yeah. Well. But on his funny statement about the wine, I want to bring up Lee's, okay? Lee shows that wine is actually possible. In fact, I'll even go in addition to that. Since we talked a little bit about my King Brigham post, what saved the Lehites or Lemhites? Sorry, the Lemhites. That probably Lemhites sound actually better.
Yeah, it's limb heights.
Lemhites. Do you guys remember off the top of your head what saves them?
How did they escape?
Yeah,
Uh,
I do. I know.
God, Lord, aren't they the
It's
ones?
wine.
Oh yes,
No,
wine.
wine.
That's right.
In fact, they didn't just only make wine for the Lamanites. They were making it for themselves. But then, because it was part of their tribute, to be specific, but then they gave them extra. But it's wine. And what does wine represent?
Yeah.
The atonement.
Yes.
Mm.
It is the atonement that actually saved them. But within the imagery of this event, it's wine.
Yeah.
But this actually even shows a double-edged sword of wine, because the Lemhites, gave the Lamanites extra wine that they then got drunk on, is what helped them get saved. Right? And
Yeah.
it's interesting. I see in the world getting more drunk right now.
Yes.
I believe, and this could be controversial, but I believe what's going on right now is actually part of the great and mighty work that's preparing the second Exodus.
Amen.
Can you
Um,
elaborate on that? What do you mean by the world is getting more
More-
drunk? So I mean, I know it's getting more evil, but does that mean they're,
Yeah, that's they're more evil.
yeah.
Um,
Does that mean that they're like overusing the atonement? Like,
no, drunkardness is not the atonement.
okay.
So wine, an appropriate amount, represents the atonement. Drunkardness is what's going on with wickedness, is wickedness. So
Yeah.
Many symbols in the scriptures, they have just like the word is a double-edged sword, so are the symbols.
Okay. Okay.
Drunkardness is wicked and evil. In fact, specifically, it brings out how we should not wake up drinking wine or strong drink.
Right.
Okay.
This is an evening drink and sacrament drink. And celebrations,
Just
like go
yeah,
ahead.
just like drinking beer is not something you should do all day. It's something that you do. You have one, you crack one open at the end of the day, maybe to.
It's to relax
Yes.
after a hard day's work, not to wake up and start your day with it. In fact, beer and wine is a natural antidepressant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Utah is the highest antidepressant chemical. Who the hell knows what's in it? Chemical state. Pharmaceutical. Craziness. In fact, some antidepressants is actually derived from LSD and the craziness that does. Anyways, that's a whole other subject. But
Yeah.
beer is a natural antidepressant, and Joseph Smith drank it and wine. In fact, Joseph Smith would use it at the sacrament known as weddings. He would bring it and have it be part of the celebrations. In fact, it might be this one right here. And when we then partook of some refreshments, and our hearts were made glad with the fruit of the vine. That's wine. I believe that was at a wedding, if I remember correctly. But we'd have to go. I don't remember everything. But anyways, but the main thing I want to bring out is lees, because some people will say, well, wine is a bad translation. It's not. Okay. It's not. First of all, grape juice was not possible until late 1800s. I forget when pasteurization happened, but it was after Joseph Smith's day. It might have been mid 1800s, late 1800s. I don't remember exactly. But it was pasteurizations that made grape juice possible. Before that, it was all wine.
Yep.
So an interesting thing with modern technology that most of society has forgotten is that fermentation is a preservation, not a perverter. Because most people today, in their justification of making wine evil, they say it corrupts and it rots. No, it is a preserver, this fermentation. In fact, Yeshua, in his parable about the leaven and the 7 meals of a loaf, I think if I'm remembering the phrase correctly, that's leaven. Leaven is fermentation. In fact, FYI, Brighamites, if you don't think you are supposed to have alcohol, stop eating bread. Bread is alcoholic. I'm not kidding you. It's alcoholic. Ben's shaking his head in confirmation. In fact, if you want, my health resource page gets into those details. In fact, sourdough is the most alcoholic. Just and it's my favorite bread, and it was my favorite before I knew it was the most alcoholic. So don't call me a drunkard.
Well, even all the health nuts say sourdough is the best for you. So.
There's
Oh, I didn't
Stephen.
know that.
There's
Yeah.
Stephen Letts, the drunkard of Ephraim.
I am Ephraim, and I've I've grown to like my wine. So I'll tell you, the first reason I actually started drinking wine, and we're getting off subject, but I have two that I need to combine apparently. But anyways, it's DNC 8917, but okay, so I'm gonna go to, I'm not seeing it there. Or I'm gonna sidetrack just from these a little bit. Let's get it here because I know it's here. This is the I'm pushing the wrong buttons. Buttons. Okay.
Who's got the buttons?
Oh, it's 19, not 17.
I do.
So it's not there. So hold on. Let's get it here. Because I'll be honest, when I first started drinking wine, I didn't like the taste.
Yes.
I do now. Okay. Just like when you first learned the real gospel, it's kind of distasteful.
You don't like the taste of it. It doesn't make you feel good about yourself, just as you are.
I know it does not.
When I had my first mimosa and I didn't realize I was drinking a mimosa.
I don't know what that is.
Orange juice. It tastes so it's orange juice mixed with champagne.
Oh, I don't like champagne, but anyways.
But I couldn't stop drinking it was the problem. I'm like, this orange juice tastes really off. And I just kept on drinking it. I couldn't stop.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm the drunkard of Judah. So there you go.
Well, I did wine because of this promise.
Oh yeah.
And shall find wisdom and great treasures of knowledge, even hidden treasures. Now, this is tied to verse 5, wine for the sacrament, verse 17, I think it is, yeah, which tells us to drink beer and that beer is good for man. That is why I started drinking beer and wine, because when I first started both, I hated the taste, but I kept doing it. First, I started liking beer more, but now I actually prefer wine. But anyways, I initially did it with this promise, which is tied to verse 17 and 5. Find
Along with every other verse in there.
Right. I agree, and we can go over these verses, but it's not the main thing I want to go over right now. But I agree, along with everything else in there, including eating meat sparingly all the time, right? But anyways, that's why I actually started doing it. And I believe part of the reason I see the things I do is because I drink wine. It's a promise right there. And guess what? Yahweh does not lie. He tells the truth. And in Ether 3 and 4, that is Brother Jared partly saw Yahweh because he knew Yahweh never lied. The promise is true. And shall find wisdom and great treasures of knowledge and hidden treasures, and shall run and not be weary, and walk and not faint. That is tied to drinking alcohol. Mild barley is fermented barley. Mild is alcoholic. And I can show that from the dictionary. if you guys want to sidetrack on that. But anyways,
No, I've seen it. I've seen
yeah. But back to Lee's. Sorry about that. Sidetrack.
it.
If wine was only grape juice, why would it be a negative thing to try to make people to stop listening to Yeshua by calling him a wine bibber?
Mhm.
Now, he was not a wine bibber, but he did drink wine more than some people thought that he should have.
He made water into wine. And no, it was not non-alcoholic wine.
And guess what? At a wedding,
Mhm.
represents the covenant that we're supposed to have with him. It was not accidental.
No,
Nothing nothing Yeshua, who is Yahweh, did was accidental. It's full with purpose and meaning. He turned water into wine at a wedding.
And it was the best tasting wine they'd ever tasted.
And my life with him has been the best life I've ever had. Come to him, or go to him, or however you want to say it. He is the key to life.
Thank the master for the best come unto me.
amen.
So, all right, well, back to Lee's. Sorry about that sidetrack.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. So, Lee's, first of all, let's just work on the definition. Lees is a byproduct of making wine. So here's the little tidbit I have saved from the 1828 dictionary. We can go there, but this is just a direct copy from there. The grosser part of any liquid which have settled at the bottom of a vessel, dregs settlement as the lees of wine. It is a byproduct of making alcohol.
Right.
Now, let's go see what Yeshua says. D&C 58, and also that a feast of fat things. And now this is, fat is an overloaded word, okay? It's fat as in big, or fat as in the fat that's on the meat, okay?
Mhm.
It's big things, okay?
Yeah.
Not the fat that's the white stuff on the meat. That's bad. In fact, just a little tidbit on kosher things. It's not specifically laid out in the law, but I do believe organs and fat are not kosher. Okay.
They are not. We are not to eat. We are not to eat the feet, and we are not to eat the fat of beasts.
Does the law actually specifically state that?
Yeah, actually, yes, it is. Yes, it does.
Oh,
In fact, you're to take the fat off of the beast that is put on the altar for slaughter.
okay. So I on the sacrifices, I completely agree with guarding the sacrifices. In general practice, I don't know if it's actually specifically stated, but the
Okay.
interesting
Well,
thing is
I'll take a look. I'll take another look.
I actually believe we shouldn't be, but I don't know if the text actually specifically states it. But
And so I'll just look for the specific. For
if
a
you have a
text.
specific, that I would love that. Because I
I'll
actually fat holds more diseases, and and that's a scientific fact. And so which supports my belief that we shouldn't be eating it, but I don't know if the text actually specifically states
is the toxicity.
The reason why our body makes fat is because we are toxic. So I am fat right now because my body has way too many toxins on the inside.
I think part of it also is that you eat too much, but
Actually, I don't. I don't
You
eat
don't?
much.
He doesn't. No.
but what about in the past?
Oh, well, that's a different matter entirely.
Yeah. Anyways,
That's a
okay.
different matter entirely.
Um,
And now my
But
metabolism.
it is hard to lose weight once your body is toxic, though. You've got to detox it some.
yeah, yeah. And anyways, so on fat, one thing that's interesting on sacrifices, since we're sidetracked on that a little bit, the fat is Yahweh's. Okay. Now, it's interesting. What is a big portion of soap is what? It's fat. It's actually
Right.
fat.
Right.
And what cleans?
So,
It's the fat in the soap.
Yeah.
Yahweh does the cleaning. That is his job to do the cleaning. And in scriptures actually state that. And here I'm bringing out from the symbolism of the sacrifices.
but here's another thing. The fat is for Yahweh. He
Yeah, it's-
wants our impurities. He wants us to give them to him. Give them up.
Yes.
Lay
And
them at
he's-
his altar.
And he's the one to do the cleaning of it. Where the prophets, holy prophets, point us to him, not themselves, to him who does the cleaning. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
That's his job, to take away the fat and do the cleaning. Even the sacrifices, once understanding the symbolism behind them, shows that. Okay. Anyways, okay, sorry. I'm really, I need to buy a squirrel. I really do. I, anyways.
Throw it at yourself. Throw it at yourself every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, feast
Hopefully
of fat
these
things.
sidetracks are helpful though. But the feast of the
fat
things we prepared for the poor, a feast of fat things, of wine on the lees,
Well refined.
the dregs, the settlement, the stronger. That's the stronger stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
aka more alcoholic stuff.
Liquor. Almost.
So
Almost.
yeah, so here's a little interesting tidbit. There's 3 categories of alcohol in the Word of Wisdom.
Okay, that's true.
There's alcohol, strong, and beer. Strong is the distilled,
That's right. That's right.
man-made, and that's not for the belly, but for the washing.
The washing of wounds.
It's the man-made stuff that we're not supposed to consume.
Yeah.
Wine cannot get beyond 20%, literally.
Mhm.
Anything beyond 20%, the strong stuff, is completely man-made and not natural. AKA distilling. There's various ways to distill, including freezing. So if you want an easy way to distill, go freeze. But anyways,
Make your wine, then freeze it and see what happens.
yeah.
Anyway.
It's interesting though. On the ice is symbolic of killing someone, right? To go put someone on the ice is
Yeah,
symbolic
yeah,
of killing.
Yeah.
A sin. Just like I'm bringing out this strong stuff. The D&C states you shouldn't be drinking it, not by commandment or constraint. I don't drink it on a regular basis. I've had a few. I don't like them, to be honest. I've had a few where they have the word Mormon in it just to try it, because I mean I'm partial to Mormons. I'm a Nazarene Mormon. I'm partial to them. But one other exception, I like real eggnog.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't like the strong stuff. Okay. Real eggnog is hard.
Oh, yeah.
But that's only once a year thing. But
But it's
anyways,
lovely.
back to Lee's. So D&C
Why are
58.
these well refined, that the earth may know that the mouths of the prophets shall not fail?
Yeah.
Because that's actually a quotation from Isaiah.
Yes, it is, and I have that here. We'll get to it. In fact, since you're bringing that up, let's read that one. You want
And
to
in
read it
this
since you brought
mountain,
it up?
and in this mountain shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees well refined.
Full of marrow, which is made in the bones, aka the
Which
law.
actually is not at this time kosher.
So
We're not supposed to break the bones and suck the marrow out.
does it actually state that?
I think I'll need to look at that.
Because I believe chicken broth is
Marrow.
kosher, and that's from the marrow.
Yeah, that's true.
So you may that's something we should go look into. Okay, I could be wrong, but I do believe it's kosher. And marrow is part of the bone, and the bone represents the law. So
Well, I think what it is that we're not supposed to break the bone to extract them.
I could go along with that, but I don't know a verse for it. But I can see that just from what I know about what bones are. Okay, because we're not supposed to break the law, right?
Right.
So the imagery I definitely agree with. But anyways, so there's that one. But here's the big one. DNC 27:5. Since you brought up the wine comment, Ben, you want to read that one?
Behold, this is wisdom in me. Wherefore marvel not, for the hour cometh that I will drink of the fruit of the vine with you on the earth, and with Moroni, whom I have sent unto you to reveal the book of Mormon, containing the fullness of my everlasting gospel, to whom I have committed the keys of the record of the stick of Ethan.
So he's going to drink the fruit of the vine, wine on the lees, when you add everything together, right? And then here's Luke 22:18. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God shall come. This is about the second coming. TNC 27. And he will drink wine on the lees, the strong alcoholic portion. Question is, will you drink it with him? I will. Will you? I hope so.
I will.
It represents the atonement, so I really hope so. Anyways, I just, with Ben's funny comment about the wine,
Let's drink some wine.
I wanted to bring that up. I have grown to like drinking it, where before I did not, but I did because I wanted the promise. And Yahweh is not a liar.
The interesting thing is, there are so many promises associated with wine.
As long as it's not drunkard.
Yes.
If you go too far, that's bad. Okay.
I'm talking about the symbolism. Somebody.
Oh, so am I. But because even the symbolism, if you go too far, it's bad. But anyways.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's true. Everything within reason and reason.
Speaking of reason, if you drink too much water, it'll kill you. So if you think drinking too much wine is bad and that's why you shouldn't drink it, you should stop drinking water. Because if you drink too much water, it will kill you. Literally. Anyways, go ahead, Ben.
I was just saying, people have done it.
Yeah, people have done it. Literally.
So yeah, well, that was cool. I always, you know, it's good to know that it's good to know that the Savior is not as self-righteous as we are.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. In multiple places, and I think 2 Nephi 29 is one of them, it talks about how they have all the laws of the kingdom of Yahweh. I mean, that's not exactly how it states it, right? But we can go look at it if you want to, but it states that how they have all the laws. And the righteous drink wine. So Word of Wisdom actually tells us to drink it, tells us not to. In fact, here's a little tidbit. The LDS Church used to have a wine mission to make wine for the sacrament. There's an actual mission to make wine for the sacrament. That stopped in 1920 with prohibition, aka men telling them to change things, which they claim they don't give into. But when you look at history, they do. Time after time after time. And I have a verse for that.
How did you hear about the most recent trouble that the church got into?
Well, I know the
slush fund's getting
yeah, the
investigated.
slush fund's getting investigated again, right? Because some
Yeah, this is the
new
first time.
evidence came out, if that's the one
Yeah.
you're referring to.
Yeah, that's well, the thing is it's getting more and more likely that the church is going to face a class action lawsuit.
I hope so, because anyways, they have not used the tithing money as the storehouse.
They have robbed God.
Yes, they have. They've been
They are
building
under,
Babylon.
and they are under his judgment.
Yeah. They've been building Babylon, a mall. A mall. Come on.
While they grind the face of the poor
Yeah.
and herd the homeless into inadequate homeless shelters.
Yeah. I'm going to share a couple of verses that actually tithing is what woke me up. Really. You know, it's all about the money, right? Yeah, it's all about the money for them. So here, well, let's look at this picture here. This is from Teachings of the Presidents of the Church, Lorenzo Snow. I plead with you in the name of Yahweh, and I pray that every man, woman, and child shall pay 1/10 of their income as tithe. Oh, wait a minute. What's that ... Who has means? Who has means? Meaning surplus, extra, left over. Oh, you don't think I'm serious? Look, here's a letter. I mean, we can go look at these things. I don't know how much time we want to spend this, but I expound a letter from an apostle while Joseph Smith was still alive. It says, basically, I feel bad for these people in London because they're paying tithing off the gross instead of off the surplus. That's basically what it states. DNC 119, we can expound in just a minute. Mosiah 18:27, according which he had to him that had not own free will desire, to every needy, not if they go to the welfare square or not, or help with service projects or not, every needy person, which goes along with Alma 1 also. But a big one, JST, Genesis 14. And he lifted up his voice, and he blessed Abram, being the high priest and the keeper of the storehouse of Elohim, him whom Elohim had appointed to receive the tithes for the poor, not for Babylon or investing. Wherefore Abraham paid unto him tithes of all that he had, of all the riches which he possessed, which God had given him. Here's the key: more than which he had need, aka surplus.
But apparently Abram had a lot of surplus.
He did. Yahweh blessed him for his righteousness, right? But DNC 119.
I have a feeling. Can I?
Sure. Go ahead.
Put in a point here. I have a feeling that God blessed Abraham with that stuff because he knew that Abraham would know what to do with it.
I don't doubt
You would
that.
do Yahweh's will concerning it, aka tithe, proper tithe.
Sure. God wants us to enjoy our life. I mean,
Yes.
in going back to Genesis in the garden, we are to partake of all the trees except for one, the
Right.
good and evil tree. Enjoy
Right.
life. He really, literally wants us to enjoy life.
The good and evil tree, the checkered tree.
Yes, the black and white checkered tree. That's the one that he does not want us to partake of, because that one is sin. He does not want us to partake of that fruit, but everything else he does.
Mhm.
There's a lot more of that we can do that we should not do, right?
After that, those who have thus been tithed shall pay 1/10 of all of their interest annually.
And
Interest.
yeah, we'll get to these. Interest and standing law. Forever. Wait a minute. What is forever? Anyway, sorry.
Forever. That means that it ends in 5 years. Or is
That
it
means
30
that-
years?
That means it
Is
ended when
forever
Joseph
30
Smith
years, or is that
died.
just one?
That's a prophecy that it was going to change when Joseph Smith died, right? Forever. Isn't that what forever means? Oh wait, that's history, not what it means. Sorry.
That's just what happened, not
That's
what
just what happened. That's not what it means. Sorry. I get confused sometimes. I need to smack myself to remember. Sorry. Anyways, standing law, meaning never changing, forever, which means never change. Saith the Lord. And I'm just gonna surplus. Okay, interest and surplus actually mean the same thing. We'll get to those in a minute, but no, actually, I don't know how much we want to sidetrack on tithing. Actually,
Yeah, but let's get back to the list of things that we were kind of thinking.
yeah, but surplus, overplus, interest, profit,
Interest,
which
profit,
means
yeah.
after you've taken care of your expenses, right? That's
Right.
what profit is.
Right.
Standing,
settled, established by
yeah,
law and custom, continually existing,
lasting,
permanent, not temporary, not
Yeah.
ending at somebody's death.
Yeah, and since we talked about wine, maybe we should do this one. We pay part of our tithe of our wine by consuming it.
There we go.
Deuteronomy 14:23, and you shall eat before Yahweh thy Elohim in the place which he shall place in his name. So this is interesting. A lot of Hebrew roots will say there's only one place for the temple. Torah never states that. Okay.
In the
Nowhere.
place which he shall choose to place his name there.
This is where they put their false tradition as one place. It never states that. In fact, here's some history that's actually talked about in the New Testament.
Oh, wait a minute. If
The
he
woman
places-
at the well, right?
Mhm.
She brings out how the Jews destroyed their temple. There was more than one temple.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing here. Place which he shall choose to place his name there. If Yahweh accepts your repentance and gives you the baptism of fire, has he not placed his name upon you?
Yeah. Well, so, oops.
Just a thought. Just a thought.
Yeah,
I'm
this
not sure.
specifically is talking about a high holiday, but it
Okay.
applies to other things also. But
Yep.
just since we talked about temple a little bit, I was bringing that out.
Yeah.
That's a verse that people twist, saying one location. It's nowhere in Torah.
Well, it's actually
That's
a
a false
verse.
tradition.
It was a verse that was twisted first by Hezekiah, who demanded that the people of Israel worship at the temple in Judah.
Yeah, there were some errors going on there, but anyways, I, I, the, the Jews have their problems, okay, as we all do, but and one that's special to this group has to do with when the Sabbath is, that it starts in the morning, sunrise, but a verse that people will twist to show that it starts in the evening is from that era, because he closed the gates in the evening. He was hedging. Jews have a hesitancy and habit of hedging, aka adding more to the law that was actually there to try to keep it.
Which was why they were actually warned specifically against that.
Correct. And that verse is an example of that.
Section 101.
Current 101 or past 101? Probably current, right?
Current, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It talks about, and the watchman built up, and
Well, that's not the same thing.
well, no, because they were commanded.
They were commanded to build a hedge.
Yeah,
The
that's
enemies
different.
built their own hedge, I guess is my point though.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
a little
break down
different.
their hedges. Yep.
Yeah, that's a little different.
It is. I'm sorry.
No,
yeah.
that's fine. I mean, it's the same word, but it's actually different.
Different context.
Yeah, different context. But
It happens. It happens.
yeah, that's fine. It's just where these symbols and words have multiple meanings, and you got to take the context into account. Is all.
Yeah.
It can be tricky. We all make that mistake at times. I forget what I was sharing before I went to that. It was probably, oh yeah, it was this. But part of tithing is to consume your wine.
Yep.
And
like my wine. Wine oil, and the findings.
so the wine in the summer is sweet. New wine is sweet, which brings up Acts 2, the new wine that Peter talks about.
Filled with new wine.
Yeah, that's sweet wine. And when you first learn of the gospel and these concepts, it's sweet. It does taste sweet. It tastes like honey.
Yeah.
Which is imagery of Torah. Anyways. But as we continue in our path, we become more mature, and it does become some bitter. Just like the bitter cup 9 months later that Yeshua did, as talking seasonal wise, is bitter. I prefer the bitter. The bitter takes strength and understanding and maturity. Not to down talk the sweet, and it still is sweet. But unless you learn to endure to the end, you will falter.
Once you get to a certain point with old wine, where old wine becomes kind of sweet too.
I don't know. I haven't had
You get to the point, or at least you get to the point where you like it.
What I know, what I've seen, I've come across that generally speaking, the white wine is sweet, but if you get red wine, which I actually prefer, because of the symbolism. In fact, a little tidbit here. To get white wine, you have to take out the bruised skin to get white wine. Yeshua's skin was bruised at the whipping for us.
More than bruised, but yes.
Part of what makes the red wine red is the bruising of the skin.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh,
Pointing to Yeshua and his
Well, that's-
atonement.
that's pretty awesome stuff right there.
But from my understanding, back to my main point, to make red wine sweet, they have to do extra processes, unnatural processes to make it sweet, from my understanding. And I've studied it some, but I'm not an expert in that, but I have studied it some because of the symbolism of the atonement. I find it important to learn some about. So it'd be interesting to find out if that's actually true, but I'm inclined to think it's not.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure.
Well, to me, it doesn't matter. I'll pour me a glass of Pinot Noir any day.
I've grown to prefer the red bitter mature.
Okay, more like a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah. We are to endure to the end, and sometimes that's bitter.
Yes.
It really is.
Mhm.
But without that strength, it's not his.
Yep. So,
It's still a sweet at the first, and I still remember that sweetness. In fact, I still remember my first sacrament with wine.
All right.
But
Well, I think we've
we
hashed this one out.
need, as Paul stated, we need to stop being children and
Yes.
to mature.
Yes, indeed.
It's a process,
Mhm.
but we do need to mature. But I think you're right. We've kind of
I think we've pretty much hashed this one to a fare thee well.
sure.
let's go to let's go to Zechariah.
Sure. Or did we want to do the search real quick? Because I think that was going to be.
Let's do the
Yeah.
word searches. Those should be really fast, real fast. Let's
okay.
not.
You're
Let's all make a pact not to get too caught up in it.
Yeah. Because I want to make sure we do something for everybody, right? Because that's
Right, exactly.
it's important.
Okay, I'm going to see if my video is going to stay calm for a moment.
Yeah, I'm loading my app. Hold on. Visual Studio takes a while to load.
And also the universe thing, or
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
can do that. I think
universe.
that's part of the searching. But yeah.
Part of the word searching.
okay.
I like Visual Studio, and that's where I live as a software engineer. But it's a big program, and so sometimes it takes a while to start.
Takes a little while to load up.
Yeah. If you download my app from my blog, it doesn't take so long to run. But I do think I need to do an update where instead of using XML, it does something more Excel-like.
So
Because-
guided to set this up. Do you mind if I give a little intro? Let's
Sure.
see what's that.
Yeah, because this one's for you. Go ahead.
Awesome. So basically, we were having hard discussion with certain individuals in a certain group, shall remain unnamed. If you're watching this, you know what I'm talking. You know who I'm talking about. Anyway, and one of the people in that group referred to our Heavenly Mother as the Queen of Heaven.
Oh, well, Queen
I
of Heaven
did-
is Satan.
What I did was I did a quick word search for the term King of Heaven first, to see if there's anything in the scriptures that even remotely discusses the King of Heaven. There's nothing, according to the LDS tools.
Well, the LDS actually doesn't do a full search, sadly. But so one thing you may like while Visual Studio is taking its pleasant time, I don't know why it's taking this long. Here's a post that would be helpful. And why it would be helpful is it shows that there is no mother of heaven, because some people tie the Queen of Heaven with Mother of Heaven, Heavenly Mother, right? And that's just not the case. And this post gets into that. But okay, so it's up, so we can go do that search.
But then I did a search in the topical guide for the Queen of Heaven, and it pulled up Jeremiah 6 and Jeremiah.
Here we go. We're up.
24.
We're up.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Go ahead,
still
finish.
finishing the intro.
Okay, fine.
Go ahead and finish.
Didn't do a
that.
proper intro last time, and I got yelled at for it. So I want to give a proper intro.
Are you two brothers by any chance?
Maybe.
I'm just wondering here, by the way you guys act.
It's a possibility we might have met each other once or twice. Maybe at a family reunion.
We'll skip the first 18 years.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anyways, okay, go ahead and finish your little intro.
So, but basically, the Queen of Heaven in Jeremiah 6 and 44 is referring to the Jews worshiping Ashtaroth instead of God, Yahweh.
Which is worshiping Satan, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you take it to its natural extent. It's worshiping state. It's worshiping Satan. It's logical.
So,
conclusion.
the scriptures are full of contrast, okay?
Yeah.
Heavenly Father is Yahweh, obviously, and then the Queen or Mother is the opposite. It's not hard to see where I'm going with this, right? It's Satan. Because there is no mother in heaven, literally. Because our spirits are
there's nothing
eternal.
Yeah, spirits are eternal. They're co-eternal with God.
Yeah.
This is the Doctrine and Covenants. If you believe in the restoration, you believe that your spirit is co-eternal. It wasn't born. It
Well,
was.
that's in the Book of Mormon too, but it's in my post brings it out from Abraham, but it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't that song High to Kolob sing about a heavenly mother?
Well, that's because
I forget.
Well, that's also written by Eliza R. Snow.
Yeah, and
who was basically a pagan in Mormon clothing.
well, and a liar.
Right. She was a pagan in Mormon clothing.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I think it says something about I've a mother there or something like that.
Well, I'm sure she does.
Considering
and you can keep that on the recording. I'm not afraid to put that out there.
The reason why Rod Mildren blocked me from their Facebook stuff is because I was defending Joseph Smith against her specifically, a known liar. But yet we're supposed to believe a known liar against the prophet of the restoration. Huh. Who do you believe?
It's kind of like we're supposed to believe the words of a scholar who pushes New Age occult ideas over the Word of God, considering His Word.
Yeah. The Brighamites really twisted the restoration.
Really
Which
bad.
is sad because that's the one I grew up in. But
yeah.
In fact, that reminds me, regarding temple, since I'm bringing that up, one thing that Yahweh told me about the temple is the occult elitist, part of their ceremonies is dedicating all their belongings to that occult.
Yes.
Mm,
Whatever you do in LDS temples,
mhm.
dedicate everything to the church.
Right. And
Same
even
thing.
in the sections of the Doctrine and Covenants that talk about consecration, it never says that you're to dedicate everything to the church. It's
Well-
to the main thing. It says you put it all in the storehouse and then it's all portioned out as people need it.
We could save this for another time because we already did our
But anyway,
tithing,
moving on to King of Heaven.
I just want to say this. When I've studied consecration in the DNC, every time, every verse, I see tithing.
Yeah.
Tithing is a consecration. Whenever you give anything to Yahweh, tithing, it's a consecration. But let's go
Okay.
back to our search.
Moving on. King of Heaven.
Okay, so I have King and Heaven, and hopefully I spelled that right. I'm pretty sure I did.
Yes.
Okay. So it's searching. So
Okay, so where is King,
this is
the
just
idea-
King and Heaven in the verse. It's not necessarily the same. So what we can do, and maybe we should do first, King. Maybe this is more what you want.
Yes, we actually want it in the same search
Right next
phrase.
to each other, right? Like
Yes.
you want it like that. So let's
Yep,
do it like
like
this
that.
first. It's searching, and so let's go take this, put it in a nicer place.
There are some things on the King of Heaven. But the thing with Nebuchadnezzar extolling the King of Heaven, we'd have
Well,
to look at
let's-
that in context.
So yeah, so this search does better search than the LDS gospel search.
I figured that's why I wanted to do it.
Yeah. You ought to get the program, and it's not too hard to use, other than you may not like logic. But
I don't
I
mind
need
it.
to do an update where it's doing something more like Excel than XML, and I think that'll make it easier for people to use. But anyways,
Yeah.
Here's what we have. I'll let you drive it, Matt.
So actually, yes, God is often Yahweh is often referred to as the King of Heaven.
So here's Daniel praises and extols the King of Heaven. So I would say that one's a positive, showing that Yahweh is considered King of Heaven at times, which I'm actually fine with. But
Right.
it's good to double check the scriptures, right?
Right. For he that raiseth up a king against me shall perish, for I, the Lord, the King of Heaven.
That's actually Yahweh giving
Yep.
himself that title, right?
Yep. And so, yes, he is the King of Heaven. And also the King of Heaven
Scripturally.
shall very soon shine forth among all the children of men.
In fact, just hindsight, what is a kingdom without a king, right? But anyways,
And this
Now, here's a really
Melchizedek.
interesting one. And this Melchizedek, having thus established righteousness, was called the King of Heaven by his people.
Huh.
Or in other words, the King of Peace.
yeah.
That seems to be an indication of something. And I'm not sure what.
Well, Melchizedek is a type of Yeshua, so and
But is this
I could see this going along with possibly the second coming, because he's going to reign,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, my whole thing is this idolatry by this people? Which were translated.
I would tend to think no. I don't know off the top of my head anywhere there's negative context with Melchizedek that would justify such an idea off the top of my head.
And neither do I. I'm just asking, is it idolatry to apply this title to a man?
Well, looking at this verse, I would answer no.
Okay.
And this is the type.
Without this verse, I would have said yes, though, to be honest. But with this verse, I would say no.
Yeah.
Because just
But that does put a
Well-
whole new, but that does put a whole new spin on the whole idea of all that the Father has, in my opinion. And
I can
may
see
be
that.
And I may be wrong.
Well, we are supposed to be like him, right? And the same character as him.
Yeah.
And this would be showing that he's having the same characters and goal as him, but it is weird that, and just saying this for myself and calling myself out, right?
Mhm.
Without this verse, I would have called it idolatry, but with the verse, I would say it's not.
Yeah,
So
that's. Well, I mean, so I'm glad we actually did the search. That's
let's
stuff
do
to
quick-
stuff to ponder on.
Let's do Queen of Heaven. We've been wrong. We've been proven wrong on the King of Heaven. Let's do Queen.
sure. Oops.
See if there's actually any positive connotation
Yeah,
to the term. queen.
That one I'm pretty sure there's not, but it's good
I'm
to
pretty
double
sure
check.
it's
But I
Well,
think,
yeah.
we have to do our due diligence.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
And if we do our due diligence, then I am willing to, then this is definitely something that I would love to share with my friends about, who seem to think that the idea of the Queen of Heaven is a great idea.
Sure, it's not, but what
Yeah.
do our due diligence.
I
don't-
deal with all kinds of things.
Well, we're supposed to be Bereans, right?
Yep.
Oh, well, I'm guessing they're all Jeremiah. Most of them 44, so I'm guessing it's all going to say they're bad. But 7 is a different one, and this is more than what you brought up.
Oh, 7. Okay, yes.
The children gather wood and the fathers kindle the fire. And I think you
Or,
miscited
no,
his.
I miscited. It was 7. Jeremiah 7.
The children gather wood, the fathers kindle the fire, the women knead their dough to make
'cause this is
cakes
their
to the Queen of
cakes.
Heaven. This is what tells us
That's
that
the pagans.
Purim, this is what tells us that Purim is actually a pagan tradition. It crept into the Jewish lexicon.
Yeah,
Make
it's one of
cakes to
them.
the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods that they may provoke me to anger. This is a negative connotation.
Yes, it is.
Now let's
I need
carefully
to add
read-
that to my pagan holidays.
Yes.
It has
And
been on my card.
this is, and now let's go down to the next one. But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven. These people are being rebellious.
Yeah, whatever I do and burn incense. So whatever we do, our own mouth, and then
Burn
that-
incense unto the
that
Queen
goes
of
back
Heaven.
to Moses, not Moses, Aaron's sons, where they were destroyed for bringing a strange fire.
Strange incense, strange fire. Yep.
Well, it is strange incense, but it's generally referred to strange fire. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
And-
actually also goes back to strange prayers. But anyways, that's another.
Yeah.
That goes
And
into
the-
UH stuff, but
Burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offerings unto her as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, for there we had plenty of victuals and were well and saw no evil, and here they are lying.
I know why you two know this one so well. You get it? Judah? Sorry. I'm giving
Yep,
you a
yep,
hard
yep.
time.
But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things. Life was always greener on the other side of the pasture,
Yeah.
and have been consumed by the sword of my famine. And when we burned incense to the Queen of Heaven and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her and pour out drink offerings unto her without our men? Jeremiah 44:25. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, saying, Ye and your wives have both spoken with your mouths and fulfilled with your hand, saying,
We will surely perform our vows that we have vowed, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offerings unto her. And you shall surely accomplish your vows and surely perform your vows. And then if you take it on a little farther, he's like, and I will destroy you.
Yeah, so I mean, we can broaden our search on the Queen of Heaven one if you want.
No, but I
But
think this
those
is
are
sufficient
bad.
for people to realize that all of these are just, this is rebelliousness against God. There is
Yeah.
nothing righteous in anything related to the Queen of Heaven.
Let's change the search a little bit. Let's do Queen and Heaven in those same verses.
Okay.
Just how to, you know, be thorough. Hopefully it doesn't give too many.
Hopefully.
Let's see. So it's the same.
Exact same ones.
It's the same verses. So yeah, even the broader search, they're all negative.
Queen of Heaven, there is nothing associated with righteousness in it that is associated with the Queen of Heaven. Now, one last search, Lord of the Universe.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
this was actually in a recent episode of The Chosen.
Oh, I don't remember that. Okay, so
I
gotta.
see that episode 8. It was in episode 8.
Okay, so if I recall right,
Yes.
universe is not even in the Bible.
But we need to search it.
Yeah.
Because I already have an naysayer saying that we don't have a right to be concerned about its use.
Well, so I have mixed feelings about the Chosen Soul. Some of it I like and some of it I don't, but just how we're trying to, you know, expose Lord of the Rings, and so I've been thinking about things a little more. But the first episode, Lilith, that's the occult.
Yep. Lord of the Universe, as a single title.
Well, I'm just doing universe.
Okay. Oh yeah,
will
let's
pull
see.
up.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Did that okay, let's try that again.
Yeah, did I not hit? Yeah,
That's
my
none of
thought.
universe isn't in any of those. You're
Yeah,
for some
something's
reason
weird.
Something's not going here. You're going right here. Rebuild.
Debug. Start. Okay. Okay. File. Open. There we go. Okay. So I don't know what happened. This is, anyways, sorry about that, people.
You're good.
The word universe is not in the scriptures. And so, and off the top of my head, I don't know another word that could be used for that would be in the scriptures, as in just trying to be thorough, right?
Right.
Seventh heaven, or no, the third. No, it's the third heaven. Sorry, it's not the seventh. It's the third heaven. But that's not. I don't know. Anyways, that's the
In
closest.
season 3 of episode 8 of The Chosen, they do a whole cleaning ritual from Kabbalah in the scene where Peter is walking on, like starts walking on the water and then sinks.
Mm-hmm.
They do it's almost like Jesus planned the whole thing, where he had 7 women standing at the side of a pool while a woman went down to be baptized, aka or cleansed. Purification, thank you.
Well, they have her Peter's wife doing the Merkava. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Well, So that's
If you
not
look at the
that's
symbolism, if you look at the
the
symbolism,
Merkava in
it's-
itself is not Kabbalah, because that's baptism, and they did. So I'm not sure what
but
part of it that
no,
you're saying makes it specifically Kabbalah.
how is that? There's no priesthood or person there baptized.
Okay, sure.
She's
Yeah,
submersing herself.
yeah, that's true. It's women taking her in there, and
Yes.
there's no priesthood in there doing it. In fact,
That's Kabbalic. It's Kabbalic.
yeah, here's an interesting thing. I like Karaite Jews in general. In fact, there was a time I called myself a Karaite Mormon, but then I changed it to Nazarene Mormon, which is more appropriate. But that's a side. No, I'm not going to get too much in. But Karaites baptisms, the women actually go in completely naked, which is not Torah. Torah states that they washed their clothes, meaning they had their clothes on to go do the baptism.
Yep.
Right after they made the covenant, they went and washed their clothes. That's baptism. They didn't go to a washer machine after
They
made
didn't.
the
They didn't pull
covenant.
out their. They didn't pull out their trusty
Washboard.
Yeah. Washboards and scrubbers and.
No, they did baptism.
And as she's going into the water, they're all chanting. I'm sorry, that reeks of Norse tradition.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they were
Probably
all
'cause-
chanting. And then as she comes out, she's got her. She has her arms she has her arms in the position of the. And she has her arms in the
Position of the mother goddess.
symbolizing
She's-
the mother goddess.
She's making the symbol of the mother goddess when she comes out of the water.
So let's see. I didn't catch that. Of course, I don't know too much of Kabbalah. So
No, that's not necessarily Kabbalah. That's just straight up freaking pagan.
okay, well, I just
Well, Kabbalah is basically pagan Judaism.
Well, right.
yeah, okay. So
Judaic
arm side.
Judaical paganism.
I didn't catch that.
Image right down here. Yep. Oh, yep, right there when she's doing their prayer thing.
So which
that's
picture?
part of
This
that.
one right here?
Right, yeah,
To the left.
right here where she's doing her
Top
prayer
left.
thing, Queen of Heaven.
This one?
Yeah.
That's the position her hands are in as she's quote unquote praying.
Or coming out of the water.
You know, to go along with it, that's the position of Mary's hands, right?
Yep. Mary is the Queen of
That would
Heaven,
make
is called
yeah,
the Queen of
Mary
Heaven
is
by the
Mary
Catholic
is the
Church.
Queen of Heaven. That's why she's blue, right? Which is
Yep.
Venus. Venus is blue.
Yep.
So that makes some sense. I didn't catch that. Of course, I didn't know that part, but anyways.
Well, this is part of I mean, my misspent youth can't be for nothing.
Well, I mean, I guess it's to help expose, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and the exposed heart. We're supposed to protect our heart with Torah, not have it exposed as they do.
Right.
The Catholics have it exposed on Mary and Yeshua, right? Or
Yep.
Christ. I'll call that one Jesus, because that one's not Yeshua.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's an exposed heart, just like ET had an exposed heart.
Yep. The Masonic symbol, Queen of Heaven.
Yeah.
Her after she pushes her hair the hair out of her eyes, her arms go out like that, just like that.
I didn't catch that part, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it's everything's carefully choreographed.
Oh yeah, that is for sure. And while thinking of some
What
of
they
the
were
Lord of the Rings
doing,
things,
what they were
makes-
doing was performing a ritual on screen.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. I didn't catch that, but yeah, you guys are right on that. Yeah. Yeah,
The show is evil.
yeah, I'm seeing it more. Which is sad because a lot of people are like there's still parts I like, I'll be honest, but I am seeing more evilness in it as I think about it
Most
more.
of, and I'm sorry, the part with little James, I really don't agree with because it's a
Oh.
bunch of feel goody crap.
Yeah, where he wouldn't heal him.
The faith not to be healed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he shows the iron will not to be healed. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, that sounds like that. I wonder if they got that from the LDS Church.
They must have got that one from David A. Bednar.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed
One of my
that one.
favorite human beings.
Why? Oh, sorry.
You like him more than me?
No.
I'm hurt.
I don't. He's not one of my favorite human beings.
I
I'm
know that was
I'm being
rhetorical.
sarcastic.
I know. I know.
It's a cat call. He's doing a cat.
I know.
That's, yeah.
I don't want. I don't want my friend. I don't want my friends to feel unloved.
You are an important friend for me. So I think are we done with that, or do you want
Yes.
to do a little
Yes,
more?
we are done with that. But we have shown on this recording what I wanted to show.
Okay, so I think Zach's is going to take a little longer, and we may not finish. So I'm going to do my thing, which I think will be short, if that's okay with Zach.
Yep,
and
that's
then we'll
good.
do Zach's, okay, as long as until we're done. So I was thinking about after Yeshua's death and resurrection and high holidays and the mighty one. And so here's a conglomerate. I can't say that word. Conglomerate of things, okay? And second coming. So 3rd Nephi 8, right? Is the destruction. Right?
Yes.
That's Passover. That's when the wicked are judged. Was
Yes.
Passover.
Yes.
Which to me is another witness that the second coming starts with Passover.
The quick are the dead are quickened at first fruits.
Correct.
That's
Resurrection.
given to us in Doctrine and Covenants 88 and several other places in scriptures.
In
But they're
fact,
the
since
first
it's
fruits.
on this subject, let's go look at that real quick. Because
Doctrine and Covenants section 88, actually.
that's your favorite one. No
No,
wonder you
it's
know
my
that.
home. It's my home. It's my home base,
Yeah,
as it were.
that's a good one. I didn't know that one, but I like you guys know I don't focus on the DNC much, but okay, DNC what?
88. I just read it today, but the 88's a long section, so just keep. And let's see.
First,
Signs of people's.
first
Whoa.
there's one.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Or
Okay. I need you to stop moving it. Okay. Here we are. And the saints that are upon the earth who are alive. There's 96. I'll start in 95.
Okay.
There shall be silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. So this is telling us when this is, because it's the same place in Revelation where it says silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. And immediately after shall the curtain of heaven be unfolded as a scroll is unfolded after it is rolled up, and the face of the Lord shall be unveiled. And the saints that are upon the earth who are alive shall be quickened and be caught up to meet him. And they who have slept in their graves shall come forth, and their graves shall be opened, and they also shall be caught up to meet him in the midst of the pillar of heaven. They are Christ, the first fruits.
You mean it's not an ordinance? Sorry,
No.
just going along with the temple.
It's not something that just slowly happens to you either.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry about that. It's just we're on the
You
temple a little
can't
bit
just do an
early.
ordinance and have your translation slowly occur.
No, they're not doing some Masonic hand thing, which is actually Hiram Abiff is why they're saying that from the temple.
Mine is a reference to these people who are talking about an ordinance that makes them a member of the Church of the Firstborn, and they're slowly being translated. These translation cults.
Oh yeah, I know what you're. Yeah, I've come across that some. That's just BS. Sorry.
Yeah.
Or I'll say it the real way. It's bullshit.
Yeah. They who shall descend with him first, and they who are on the earth and in their graves, who are first caught up to meet him, and all this by the voice of the sounding of the trump of God. So yes, the judgments begin. The judgments begin probably at Passover, and then at first fruits, we have the resurrection of the first resurrection.
Yeah, at first fruits. So more. In fact, this just confirms this more to me. Yahweh does things at his appointed times,
Yes.
aka
Yes.
the high holidays. That's when he does his
Mhm.
appointed things at the appointed
Oh,
times.
and guess what, guys? This shows that the mysteries are in Torah.
Oh wait, I think I have a post on that.
The mysteries are in Torah. They're not somewhere else. They're not waiting for you to twist and torture them out. They're there.
Yeah, because
Go
that's
pick
Torah
up a
right there.
book
First
and
fruits.
read.
So I want to continue my thing, unless Matt, you want to do.
But
say
you go
something.
ahead and continue.
No, Matt had something real quick. That's fine. Go ahead.
No,
Matt.
I just said I was being obnoxious and I said, pick up a book and read.
Oh, you mean the book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So going on. I think we've
Okay.
hashed this.
So that's Passover. Pentecost, we get the law. We see that in 3rd Nephi 11 and on, right?
Right.
Where's tabernacles?
Well,
At Zion. They had Zion.
okay.
Tabernacles is Zion.
The tabernacles come down. Bam.
Well, tabernacles is representative of Zion, right? That's and they had Zion. Not right at right after Shavuot, Pentecost. It was some after, and I would speculate. I don't know if the text has enough to state this. 3 months later, or 3 moons to say it.
Yes.
Even better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's the judgment.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Day of Atonement
We
is
get
also
the
the
law.
Day of Judgment.
And then we get the Zion. Right
And
there.
so what's Day of Atonement in all of this? Because that's the judgment day. That's when you're either atoned for.
Right, and I hear you on that, but the big punishment, as in general speaking, is Day of Atonement. I mean, Passover.
Yeah, that's true, because that's when all the
But you can
the firstborn.
Day of Atonement is when you. This is where it's muddled up a little bit. I don't have a good answer for that for right now. Right.
Okay,
But
that's fine. But that's really interesting.
But you see Moses, Lot, here in 3rd Nephi, right? Which these events of 3rd Nephi are prophetic of the second coming.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I haven't figured this one out completely yet. Okay. I speculate.
Yeah, well, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
I think everybody does speculate from time to time.
Well, I think this one, what I just said, is more solid. Okay. This one is more speculation.
Okay.
I speculate the day or the time that the mighty one will be marred 14th day of the first moon.
Passover. That's soon.
Matt, he's not necessarily talking about this year.
No,
I just thought I'd point that out.
I'm just saying, general time frame. That is soon.
That's Passover is coming up.
well, it's annual, so it's always soon. I'm not going to speculate on year on recording, but
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying.
Yeah,
you should.
but
All I'm
that's
saying
actually
is
an interesting thought.
so, and I don't know, that one's more speculative in my mind. Okay, so here's another one, and this one I don't believe is speculative. I think it's actually the case. So let's go to Isaiah 52.
Good. It's going to show me how it is the case.
Well, no, this is another thing, not that one. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I believe what I just said, but I feel like I need more than what I have
Right.
to show it from the scriptures. But anyways, so like I've mentioned earlier, the mighty and strong one does not go into the kingdom. Okay.
No, it is not.
And I mentioned how Nephi is a mighty and strong one, and calling was changed from the head of the church to apostle, sent one out to the non-believers.
Right.
So one of the things that the mighty and strong one is to do is to go and teach these ways to the nations, to the many nations, aka not in Zion.
So you believe that he will never set his foot in Zion?
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I would go quite far as what happened with Moses, but his primary purpose at that point is to go teach the nations. He will be a sent one, an apostle.
Okay. Yeah. So
And I can see that here, and I see it with Nephi.
Right. Yeah, I can see it. It's there.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident
Yeah.
for
Yeah, it's
more
there.
reasons than I'm giving you right now. But I do believe he's going to be a sent one, and I can see that from Nephi, son of Nephi, and third Nephi. Did I say Nephi enough? Anyways, sorry.
I think you need to say it one more time for the record.
Nephi.
Thank you.
But I can also bring it out here, right? He's going to go to the nations and teach them. Anyways, the marred part is more speculation, but to me it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
When was Yeshua marred?
At his death.
Yeah, Passover, which
Yep.
Isaiah 52 is not.
Oh,
Yeshua.
wow. Actually, yeah, I can see that as I can see that as a really solid type right there.
Yeah, because the prophets, and especially the things that are brought out about the prophet's life in the scriptures, point us to Yeshua, right? And so, when was Yeshua marred? Passover. And to go along with that type, when should the mighty and strong one be marred? Passover. Because as far as I know, he's the only prophet that's talked about being marred, right?
Yep.
The perfect In fact, the only time for, I think, to be appropriate.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's other prophets that were marred. One got sawn in half.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's not Isaiah. That's not in the scriptures, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's
history.
not recorded. It's not recorded in scriptures except in apocryphal scripture. The
Sure,
essential.
sure, but apocryphal scriptures isn't. It's pseudo scriptures. It's not written by prophets bringing out, pointing
Right.
us to Yeshua and his patterns, right?
Right. They tend to be a little more out on the edge.
Sure, sure. Man-centered or man ideas centered, where full-fledged scriptures or real scriptures are not. Right?
Mhm.
They're actually really inspired, where instead of men just bringing things out, right?
Right.
Isaiah 52 was inspired, if not revealed.
Right.
I don't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but it's inspired or revealed, meaning it's
Well,
full-fledged
the
scripture.
thing that you have to bear in mind is the description of the book of Isaiah, which is given in chapter 1. It says the vision of the prophet Isaiah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
There are multiple visions.
Sure. Right.
I'm sure they did not. I'm sure it wasn't a single 66 chapter vision.
Sure. Well, I think his life would show that. But anyways, well, enough with that. Unless you guys want to. So
No, I think that's good. Let's move.
let's go on
see
to
if we can get
Zach's
to-
now.
Let's just see about getting into Zechariah.
Yeah. In fact, let's get the Kindle up just in case there's JSTs. And I kind of doubt there is. Just Joseph Smith didn't
There seems to
do it
have
on
been
everything, but he focused on what he thought that he
You
felt
know,
was
I,
important.
and
right?
you know what the really interesting thing that I find, given all these people that complain about the scriptures because of the Deuteronomists,
What,
there was only one. He only did one change. He only did one change to the book of Deuteronomy.
Oh, that's their complaint.
That was to add. That was to add a scripture detailing the loss of the high priesthood.
Okay, but I would think that would be more go against their theory than support it.
Yeah, that's my point. It goes against it completely. For all these people that complain about the work of those wicked Deuteronomists who burned our Bibles to the point where they're unrecognizable, practically. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic here.
Well,
but
I think you're being true to their point, though. The Silver Scroll defeats that theory.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And I think even careful reading of Book of Mormon and New Testament would defeat it. But
actually, just careful reading of what I think somebody needs to tell Jesus Christ that he used corrupted scripture to defeat the devil.
Yeah, and these sacrifices point to Yeshua. They really do.
Yeah.
But wicked hearts don't want to see that. In fact, this is sad. One guy in Elias Freedom Forum, he may hear this, but he has tried to convince me that the Day of Atonement is about Joseph Smith, not Yeshua. And he was being serious about it. Okay, well, enough of that. Let's go to
Zechariah chapter 6.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So Zach, do you want to drive us since this is more for you, or do you want one of us to do it?
You mean like read it? Does that mean?
Read it, or be in charge. You want to bring up, if anything, you ought to at least give a hint of why you want to look at it, if nothing else.
I guess like the connection between this and Revelation.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they both talk about the 4 horses, right?
Yeah.
And this one's a little more detailed, that the horses are connected to chariots.
Sure.
I
And
turned and lifted up.
Sorry, chariots in general have to go with war. I don't know here, but I can think of one case that it's not with war, right? Someone going up into heaven on one, but anyways, I guess we can just start reading through and talking about it.
And I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. The first chariot were red horses. The second chariot, black horses. The third chariot, white horses. The fourth chariot, bristled and bay horses. But then I answered and said unto the Lord, and the angel who talked with me, what are these, my Lord?
Hold on real quick. I'm just trying. Brass, as in like in the brass plates. I'm going off of vague memory. Maybe we should double check, but I think brass has to do with the law, if I remember correctly. Silver has to do with
So
judgment.
these are judgments. So these are judgments.
Well,
And we've
possibly.
talked about mountains before.
Well, mountains have to do with the law, and I think brass is.
Yeah.
Let's, because we're trying to understand this, so I think it's fine to sidetrack. But if I remember correctly, brass. Let's see. Well,
there you go. That'll work.
Let's try this. Bronze. They don't have anything specifically brass. Let's see here. The patriarchal period of ancient Israel occurs, and modern historians have called the Bronze Age. And the times of settlement of Canaan marks the change from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. Okay, I don't care about that. Copper lead was one of the earliest and widest used during the Old Testament. It was later replaced by brass, an ally of copper and tin. I kind of remember that. Therefore, most references to bronze are in the Old Testament. The use of bronze. Okay. That doesn't
That's
seem
not
very
brass.
helpful. Yeah, that doesn't seem very helpful. The Babylonian
apsu corresponds conceptually to the waters above the firmament. Firmamentum is the Latin translation for the Hebrew rachia, pounded brass dome over the earth, hard as a molten mirror, which separates the waters above from the waters below and keeps them from flooding.
One thing that kind of I think supports the idea of brass's law here is the law is a mirror. And it's talking about hardened as molten mirror, right?
Now, the other interesting thing about the other thing about brass is that it's an alloy of copper and tin.
Right. You want to add more to that thought?
Now, tin. The interesting thing is that the tin mixture with the copper is what gives brass its sheen. And so the tin is often a very chromatic substance. Bronze is more of a mineral substance from rock of the earth. Just things to think about as we're trying to put together this idea of what the brass represents. Alloy of
tin, chrome, shiny, of the earth, of the rock.
Okay. So let's
Put some thoughts on that. Just some thoughts to go with the idea.
sure. Yeah, we're trying to figure this out because I'm just speculating that this is problem solving. Okay.
What does brass symbolize in the Bible? Right here.
Okay.
Top question there. People also
Yeah,
ask.
yeah. Click on that. What's this one? Oh, that's gold though.
Symbol
Oh,
of
it says
judgment or justice.
judgment or justice.
Yep, that's so it's the shiny rock. Judgment of justice. Stoning.
Okay. So I knew silver was that. I guess I didn't realize brass was the same.
Yep.
It's interesting it has it under the gold one. Let's see, symbolism of metals. Oh, that's not helpful. What?
Kelsey is about to have to sign off.
Oh, okay. Go. You're muted, so I didn't hear you, Kelsey.
I don't last very late, sorry.
No, that's fine. You have kids to take care of, so that's understandable.
Yeah, early morning. So anyway, okay. You and yeah, next week. See you again. So
Okay.
See ya.
Yeah. Tuesday evening. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Asking.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
All
Thanks for
right.
coming.
Yep, you're welcome. We'll see ya.
Okay. See. Problem solving. Well,
Vitality of the human mind, the gaining of one's mental capabilities.
Sure. Well, one thing, problem solving, I see that related to the law, which the law deals with
Definitely.
justice, right? And
Mhm.
discernment, right? That's how you problem solve, discern, and you discern by the law, right? Symbolize the vitality of the human mind. Well, that would go with the law, right?
Brass is said to keep the mind young and youthful and to prevent conservatism.
What is that? Prevent it?
Yes. Honestly, conservatism.
You've got to hold on to it for dear
Commitment
life.
to the holding of political views that favor free enterprise doctrines of the conservative party.
Sure. I conservatives aren't as conservatives as they would like to present
Well,
themselves. So I
the
agree
thing
with
about
that.
the thing about conservatism is that it's not conservative, except that it conserves the power structure that is currently in place.
Yeah, I get. That's why it's conservative, right? That was good.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that looking into it a little more. It's
The fact of the matter are the law will upset the power structure that is currently in place. It prevents.
Oh yeah, and
It prevents.
conservatives would
It
reject the law,
prevents
actually,
tyranny.
right?
Yeah, conservatives will reject the law
Yeah.
by and large. I've
Which
seen
is
it.
kind of so
The
have I,
vast majority of people in the Doctrine of Christ group are conservative,
and they reject the law, which
and they have
seems kind of
to this point.
contrary to what they kind of claim, right?
Right. They have to this point. That doesn't mean that they cannot change.
Correct. And hopefully they do, right? I mean,
Right.
I grew up Christian. I rejected the law. I didn't know any better, right?
Right.
And I got woken
So,
up to it.
yeah, the thing is conservatives, by and large, reject law, whereas liberals, by and large, tend to want too much law
Of their own law and their own
of their
making.
own law, of law of their own, yeah, justice after their own making.
Yeah.
And so that is the issue right there.
Sure. Where conservatives are generally just leave people to themselves, right?
Yeah, leave people to
Um,
themselves. You don't tell me what to do. Nobody can tell me what to do. Even God.
For sure. Where the left is more, I'll tell you what to do and I'll make it the
Yes.
law, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but yeah,
Mhm.
I can definitely see that looking at the details.
Looking at what conservatism actually means versus
is.
what it's come to mean.
Or how it's generally thought of, right?
Yeah.
Let's see, it's beautiful. Well, the law is beautiful in my mind.
Absolutely.
And David
Oh.
said that, Psalms states that, right?
Yep. Simple thing.
Well, heaven's gonna be golden paths. Well, it says
Yep.
streets, but I mean that's a path, right?
Yeah.
Which is where we walk, aka the law we keep.
Yeah. So it
So
also symbolizes positivity, beauty, the simplicity of life. True positivity is found in the law.
correct.
In obeying, honoring, sustaining the law of God.
Yeah.
Torah.
Yeah. So in one place, it's kind of bringing up here problem solving, and this one about judgment and justice, but that's only possible because of the law, right?
Yep.
And so I still see it's connected to the law. If not,
I see it
sure.
that way. The
um,
law and judgment. The law in connection to judgment. So mountains of brass is the law in connection to judgment.
Sure. And where the brass plates, right, where the law is located, and the prophecy in Alma 37, how we're going to get it again. In that prophecy, it brings out, it's going to bring people back to the right way, because now they're going to know what is actually sin. I don't remember the exact way of putting it, but it's along that line, which means you're making a judgment,
Right.
right? Which goes along with this brass on judgment and the law.
But the brass plates will only be brass plates will only be restored to those who've learned to value what they have.
Well, I actually believe the mighty one's going to translate it, the brass plate.
Well, of course he's going to translate it, but the only people who are going to follow him are those who've learned to value what we have.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see what else we have on. This one looks more new age, and this one didn't come up for some reason. This one looks like it's a little. This looks like occult new age. With
Yes.
These symbols.
Well, those are the ancient symbols. Those are ancient symbols made from brass.
But even if it's from the wrong side, it can help give us some insights, because both sides kind of use the same symbols at their core, the same, right? At least that's what I've noticed. Even if they may be used it a little different or twisted, it's the core is the same. I've noticed. It doesn't really look like it has.
Looks like it's something to sell stuff.
Yeah. But
Priest, priest,
So I think we have a pretty good grasp.
Yeah, okay.
Of
Okay, let's go back then. Okay, so And I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and beheld, there came 4 chariots out from between the 2 mountains.
So four, now we're probably dealing in gematria here.
Possibly, or something along those lines. The 2 mountains. So Torah was given on one, but when Moses pronounced the blessings and the cursings, right, it was actually at 2 mountains, not one, right? Because one mountain was the blessings and one mountain was the cursing. So and the law, the brass, brings out who's going to be blessed and cursed.
Now the other idea, the other idea is that mountains could also but it could also have a double meaning. It could also have a double meaning,
Sure.
meaning 2 nations, or it could be another reference back to Ezekiel, with 2 sticks.
That's a very good point. And with mountains with laws, the 2 sticks have the law, right? So that's a very good possibility there, right?
Yep.
So the 4 chariots could be tying into
That's
the 4 horses.
judgments. They're 4 judgments, is what I see. Because chariots are symbols of war and judgment and
destruction. Destruction happens because of judgment. So I can.
Well, and here's where it would actually pay, I think, to do a little comparative with Revelation.
I think we should do that. And this is completely up to Zach because this is more for him. My thought is to look at this chapter, and then probably have to be next week to go look at it in Revelations 2. And my reasoning for this is to get the base.
Okay.
So that way we can understand the expounding of it, or the using of it.
Yeah, because the thing that you have to bear in mind is that John is actually citing this.
Right. So if we don't understand the citing, we won't understand the usage.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And so that's why, and it's
I
completely
agree.
up to Zach.
I'm with you. I'm with you now.
Because this is a Hebrew technique where they'll quote it a little bit and expect you to know the context while they're using it. And if we don't understand how it's being used initially, won't understand how it's being used.
Will be lost
while they're being quoted. Right. It'll be completely.
Well,
it'll go over our heads. Right.
Right.
As an English idiom. Right.
Right.
And so that's my reasoning for wanting to.
No,
I first.
Yeah, I get.
As long
I get
as that's
it.
okay with Zach. Anyway, so I
that's all good.
Also be inclined, like with Ben, that the chariots has to do with judgment, right? Because that's generally, chariots have to do with war, and which Yahweh allows happen because of judgments, right?
It's the instrument of judgment.
Yeah, it's an instrument of judgment because he lets the wicked nations destroy wicked nations. The wicked shall destroy the wicked.
Yeah, just like he causes the sun to rise and the sun to shine and the rain to fall on the just and the unjust alike. The wicked kill the wicked.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's pretty good on verse 1.
Verse 1, I think we've got a pretty good spin on.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think we could maybe be a little clearer on is necessarily why there are 4.
Correct. And
what does 4 stand for?
Well,
what is 4? What does 4 mean?
40 and 4 are related with each other, and most people know 40, right? The time of not necessarily judgment, but to see if you'll pass the test, which is
Yeah.
a thing of judgment, right?
Testing. It's
That's
the,
testing.
it's the
time
time
of
of
testing.
trial.
Yeah. And I think less known is 4 relates to 40, at least at times.
At times.
And so I would
We'll see if this is one of those times.
correct. I would wonder if it is, especially considering what we got out of verse 1.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
let's see, right? This
Period.
is where we
Let's
have to read
period.
it all to get context.
Yes.
The first chariot were red horses. Okay, that's the first idea.
Well,
First chariot were red horses.
red can deal with blood, which can deal with sin, right? And black, it can do with pestilence and
Mhm.
and
Yes.
judgment. And we could go double check on these and go search, but I think red's obvious, black maybe not as much. But
Yeah.
black can deal with wickedness, right? I mean, the robes of the wicked are black.
The third chariot, white horses. But I don't think, white is another color that has double meanings, one positive, some positive, some negative.
Like leprosy. Leprosy is white, right?
Yep.
It's an off-white, but it's white. And so white does not necessarily mean good.
White does not mean pure. Pure necessarily.
Not necessarily,
It can mean that, but it can mean other things as well.
right? And the fourth chariot, gristled and bay horses.
Okay, so that is checkered. That's representing mixed. That'd be something that we'd want to
Yeah.
look at the symbolism of the gristled and bay.
Oh, first let's do. Good thing search engines know what I mean, not what I type.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Gristled. Grisli No. LED. That's what's in the scriptures. Well, they have gristly.
Well,
There's grizzled. Are we talking?
Frightful, horrible, terrible. Grisly countenance, grisly face, grisly specter, a grisly bear.
well, I definitely don't want to get in a fight with a grizzly bear.
Yeah, it's dreadful.
So those, so gristled.
Have you done it, Matt?
Dreadful looking.
You're talking like his experience there.
Well, but
There was this one time. Thank you.
Right. I'll let you fill in the details.
Actually, that's a technique of the occult. Anyways,
Why?
Yeah, I know.
enough for that one. It's oh no, it's 3.
3. Dappled. Dappled horses, all of them strong. That's interesting. That's
It's spotted. That's the mix that you're talking about.
Yep.
First I was kind of thinking checkered, but spotted. I mean that's related, right?
Got a drink.
Well, one thing that comes to mind is the occult, right? The checkered.
Yeah.
Mostly checkered, but spotted goes along with that, right?
Yeah. What is a checkered board? It's a spotted board.
Well, and, the checkered board of the black and white, it's the occult. The black
Right.
and white mixed together.
I'm drawing the connection
Yeah.
to what you're saying.
Okay. So I think that's good on that.
Yes.
And so what have we determined about the grizzled and bay horses?
They are spotted.
Yeah, they're spotted.
Yeah. Yeah, they're checkerboard horses.
Wow, it's interesting.
This isn't the JST.
Yeah. Well, this is where I don't think Joseph Smith did it on everything. I think he did on things that he felt was more important, to be honest.
But there are some changes. There are some changes in that chapter.
Oh yeah, but not on this verse, right?
Dappled horses, all of them strong.
Well, I'm wondering, what is the bay?
I think
Is
I
that
think
just
they're
translation
using-
with the
Is it potentially
spotted horses, strong steeds. The Hebrew doesn't say anything about bay. It says strong steeds. Spotted, strong steeds.
Okay. Well,
Let's go with the Hebrew.
well,
for sure,
also
I completely agree on that. Go ahead, Matt.
if we keep something at bay, we are showing strength against that certain something.
Oh, that's a good point. Just another thought, and this is where we're going to need more context. My thought on the bay was more with the seashore type of bay,
Well, yeah.
as in the New World, but this is where we're going to need more context to know what possibly the bay could be.
But the
referring
bay
to.
is used in description of the horses, is it not?
The chariots.
Right.
Okay,
But what is
well,
the horse though?
let's go a little farther along. And
Yeah.
some of this stuff I think we'll sort out as we go through this.
I tend to agree with that. Then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, what are these, my Lord? And the angel.
So he's talking to the angel of Yahweh.
I would tend to agree with that. We don't know for sure, but I would tend to think that. And the angel answered and said unto me, these are the 4 servants of heaven, of the heavens, which go forth from standing before Yahweh of all the earth. The black horses, which are therein, go forth into the north country, and white go forth after them, and the grizzled go forth towards the south country. And the bay went forth. So that's probably talking about the grilled horses, right?
The bay and the strong horses. Bay is the strong.
Okay.
The grizzled or the spotted. They went forth and sought to go, that they might walk to and fro through the earth. And he said, get ye hence. Walk to and fro through the earth. So they walked to and fro through the earth.
So up here then, up to 3. The 4th chariot was pulled by 2 different types of horses, and grizzled and bay.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Then
So
Okay. And so the bay are just walking to and fro through the earth. They don't have a destination that they're sent to. They're going to and fro.
they're going about their business. They're doing whatever the heck they want to do. Why would he say get the hints?
Then cried he upon
So,
me, and
just a thought that popped in my head, and we'll have to read more to see if it applies. There is one person that goes around the earth accusing, as in doing judgments or bringing forth judgments of people, right?
Mhm. Yep. He wanders to and fro. And God's general reference to him is get thee hence.
Yeah. Oh, and look, get ye hence. And it has to do with the one that's going to and fro, Satan. So
Mhm.
and so maybe my thought is correct. Maybe this one could be Satan, right? Possibly.
Mhm. An instrument of the judgment of God, an instrument of the judgments of God.
Which he does play a part in that, right?
He
Mhm.
does.
In tempting us and accusing us.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, go. I just wanted to share that.
Then cried he upon me and spake unto me, saying, Behold, these that go toward the north country have quieted my spirit in the north country. So those in the north country had quieted him, quieted the one walking to and fro.
Meaning he didn't have anything to accuse of him. I would take that as,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And north are generally referred to as the righteous, and the south the wicked.
And the
right?
word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Take of them of the captivity, even of Heldai and of Tobijah and of Jediah, and which are come from Babylon, and come thou the same day, and go into the house of Josiah the son of Zephaniah. Then take silver and gold, and make crowns, and set them upon the heads of Joshua the son of Josedek, the high priest. And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord.
So,
Are we talking about? Is this also the
just
branch?
the branch can also
Is this
be
related to
Nazarene.
the? Yeah, I'm wondering if this is also in reference to the whole thing of the root, rod, and stem of Jesse.
Possibly, right?
Yeah,
And Yeshua is the Nazarene,
yeah.
which is sometimes Nazarene is translated as the branch. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
I
okay.
wonder. So I don't know how to put it into the context yet, but I think one thing we need to let ferment among us, as in just going along with our earlier conversation, but actually still being honest about it, and way to use it is the silver, gold, and crowns, right?
Yes.
They're not just saying that to make the story sound more cool.
More majestic.
Somehow.
No, there's symbolism in this, and we're talking about.
I agree. There is symbolism to it. I'm not sure how it relates yet, but it's there for a purpose, even if we don't know what it is yet, right?
And the branch, even he shall go up out of his place, grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. And he shall build the temple of the Lord, even he shall build the temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory and shall sit and rule upon his throne. His throne.
Yeah. So this is, to me,
seems to very much indicate Yeshua.
This is Yeshua right there, right?
And he shall be a priest upon his throne, and the council of peace shall be between them both. And the crown shall be to Helam and to Tobijah.
Look at this. This is interesting. He shall build the temple of Yahweh, and he shall bear the glory and sit upon his throne, and he shall be a priest upon his throne, and the council of his peace shall be between them. Between who?
Between
That's a
Yeshua
majestic
and
plural.
the mighty and strong.
No, this is the one. To me, this is majestic plural. Between Yahweh, the Father,
Are you
And the
possibly,
prince, the son.
you're possibly thinking this is a evidence of the connectivity between Yahweh and Yeshua.
Elohim.
Yahweh and
Oh,
Yeshua.
Yeshua.
Yeah, this is the modalism.
Mhm.
To me, this is majestic plural. But anyways,
I can see, I can see that as a possible, as a definite possibility.
uh, anyways, and so
Unless the only other person that it could be between them both would be high priest and king branch.
mm, okay, so
High priest and king could be both in the same person.
right, but personally, I think the only one that all of this would qualify, the only one that can qualify for all of this is Yeshua.
Okay.
Because even so there's well, I guess in some ways 3 high priests, but there's 2 high priests in the priesthoods, right? There's the Melchizedek high
Mhm.
priest, and then there's the Aaronic high priest. And
Right.
it's confusing they have the same title. This is where you need
Right.
context. Because they both have the same title, right? Which can make it confusing.
Yeah.
But none of them become between us and Yahweh, right?
Yeah. Right.
None. Neither.
Mhm.
They do things to help point us to him, and bring us to him, but they're
Yeah.
never in between.
Right. Right. The crown shall be to Helam and to Tobijah and to Jediah and to Hen the son of Zephaniah for a memorial in the temple of the Lord. So here's some people who are receiving crowns.
Yeah. Which
Probably,
I
presumably,
he's the
they're,
King of Kings, so I don't have any problem with that, right?
yep. And they that are far off shall come and build in the temple of the Lord. And ye shall know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you, and this shall come to pass if ye will diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God.
That which is keep his commandments, right?
Mhm.
So that's
So
chapter 6.
Yeah, that's the whole of chapter 6.
And
So,
this one,
I mean,
I
the
think this
main
one doesn't
thing,
have to do with horses, probably.
no, chapter 7 doesn't. So this, now the question is, as we have read this, does the stuff down here, does the stuff in the last 6 verses pertain, or the last 7 verses pertain to the same thing as the stuff in the first 8 verses? And I would say, and
I think it might be talking about the second coming.
that's the question that we have to ask ourselves. Is this 2 separate prophecies? And is there stuff in chapter 5 that might inform the horses? Because these chapter things are kind of arbitrary.
Yeah, they were added later.
Yeah.
So let's see. Flying roll. Curse. Curses go with judgments, right?
Mm-hmm.
House of the thief. You have to look more, but that, thief in the night has to do with the second coming. Timber. Well, that has to do with the priest not doing his job at midnight, right? The timber, the continual burnt offering. Did you say something, Zach?
Yeah, chapter 1 also mentions them.
Okay. The horses?
Yeah, the horses.
Okay, so maybe let's start with do you know the verses off the top of your head?
No, I forgot. It's close
Okay.
to the beginning, I think.
I wonder, this is where,
Wait, I saw something. I saw by night, and behold, a man riding upon a red horse. He stood among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom.
Yeah, it's-
Behind him there were there red horses, speckled and white. Then said I, O my Lord, what are these? The angels that talked unto me said unto me, I will show thee what these be. And the man that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, These are they whom the Lord hath sent to walk to and fro through the earth. They answered the angel of the Lord that stood among the myrtle trees and said, We have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest.
well, this is sounding like judgment still, right?
Yep.
And in fact, how long will thou have mercy on Jerusalem? Like you're being too merciful. Oh wait, or did
Yeah.
I read that wrong? And the angels
Wilt thou
of Yahweh
not have
answered,
mercy?
yeah,
O Lord of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah against which thou hast had indignation these 70 years? 70 years.
yeah. The 70-year judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at least here, this is to me pointing to the 70 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Again, pointing back to Daniel.
Yeah. In fact, I didn't know that was here in Zechariah, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And it's related to the horses.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think that's a key thing you pointed us to, Zach, to help us understand it. Because it's pointing the horses to Daniel 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I forget the chapter in Matthew, but Matthew or Peter, I think it was Peter asking, how many times shall I forgive? And Yeshua answered 70 times. Or 70 times 7, right? 70
times.
weeks.
And that's he's not
That's how
just giving
long-
arbitrary.
Well, he's bringing up that Israel's time is coming up. He
Yeah.
wasn't saying you need to forgive 490 times or any other stuff that goes along with that the Christians.
Thank you, Hellenists.
He's yeah, he's pointing to the 70 weeks prophecy. That's what Yeshua is doing, right?
Mhm.
70 times 7 week. Anyways, and to me, this looks like this is pointing to that more.
Yeah.
More, right? Right here.
So
'Cause it's Jerusalem and
it does seem as we go into Revelations that we need to look at the horsemen potentially in relation to Daniel 9.
I agree. I concur. But I think that should be saved for next time.
I think you're right. I think it's getting late.
Yes. So
In fact, I know it's kidding.
yeah, I can look at the clock.
Yeah, well, you know.
Okay. Well, anyways, I think that's
I was attempting to be a little diplomatic.
no, that's fine. I'm whatever. I think that was a good start of looking at that
That's
because
crazy.
Mhm.
I think the chapter 1 that Zach pointed us to brings out a good key on that, right? I think it's starting to look more and more related to Daniel 9,
Mhm.
but we'll have to.
Now, what we need to determine when we go into Revelation is whether it's a continuation or whether it's an exposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's just where we have to keep looking. Just keep putting the
Yeah.
puzzle pieces together. It's just a puzzle. It's just we have to put it together correctly, right?
Mhm.
Just like the mighty and strong one puzzle and the second coming puzzle, I do a little bit here and there on. It comes with time. It's just it's one of these mysteries that Yeah, you should work on, but the law should be the focus, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yep, you definitely want to see to your basics, you would definitely want to see to your basic nourishment before
Yeah, well,
you.
milk commandments before the meat mysteries, right? But
Yep,
um
yes, and meat should be eaten sparingly all the time.
yes. Exactly.
It's
From
like
word
with
of wisdom. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Zach.
like I'm into calisthenics and I focus most on the basics. Like I don't I don't really go into like those like what are they called, dragonflies? I can't
Oh,
even
yeah.
do those.
Yep, yep.
That's a type of exercise, right? Calisthenics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
where
Calisthenics.
you're like on a bar and lifting your body up there.
Oh, okay.
I can't even do it.
I like going to the gym, but I haven't for a while. Just since COVID, I haven't. The gym I actually liked went out of business because of COVID, and I haven't gone back to one since then. But anyways, I like the gym, but I'm not really that into it. In fact, in between sets, I would read things on Torah on my phone. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. So,
I think we got a good start.
yeah. So I don't know if you guys, I know Ben mentioned how he needs to get his Digsby or Discord working again, but I did add a link where you can download the extended Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. But
and
we have a copy, we have a complete copy of that still.
the extended.
Yep. On
Okay.
Blu-ray.
Okay.
So we'll get it in high definition.
Oh wow. What I have, I think I put up there was 1080. So you probably have the
That's
4K, maybe.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, we don't have 4K. We have 1080p. It's the same deal.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Matt's just being an idiot.
I'm being technical.
Oh, that's fine. I'm pretty sure it's 10. So
Yeah, I think
yeah,
I think we should all kind of first just watch it through, gather
Yes,
general
yes.
story arc.
Yeah, and possibly even all
Come
three.
together.
Because I think all three will kind of help with the general storyline.
Yeah, get the general story arc. Get a feeling for types and what have you. And then come together on that. Then I think we should start going through scene by scene.
Yeah. Also, I did some searching, try to find anything where anybody really brought anything out. There's a few that people say they bring it out, but I've listened to them and I didn't catch anything. Except for one, I did put one article in the Discord that I did mostly like, but it didn't bring out very much, to be honest. As in just trying to get the juices running and looking what other people have said. So there's not a lot out there, actually, of people doing it on this movie. So we may be the first.
We'll be pretty early. We're pretty early on the jump.
Yeah. Hopefully maybe we can help others start seeing things. But one thing I put in Discord, and I don't know the name of it, but maybe Ben knows the proper name. The Golden O. I wonder if the ring deals with the Golden O. Now, I don't know the official occult name. I know what I see as a pattern.
I'll take a look at it. When I can get on that, I'll take a look at it.
So this is
But-
in a lot of things. Like I used to play Halo. The
Yeah.
circle is
Yep.
the Golden O. Is the
Yeah,
golden
yeah.
circle.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
Well, here's the
So-
thing. Here's another thought. the ring, although to create it, Sauron poured his malice, his hatred, and his will to dominate all life into it, is how it's described.
Because that is how the Gnostics view the law.
So we
Well, right, but
have
at the same time, the golden circle, I would wonder, and this is where maybe we need to get the proper occult terms so we can maybe read some on it. I would
Oh, I see what you're
speculate the
saying.
golden circle deals with that also, with what
I would
Matt is saying.
actually, it is yeah, I need to look that up. I need to look that up again. It's been a while.
I don't remember the name. I know the patterns I see, and I don't go read the occult literature much. So.
Well, I mean, I can just be like, I can just go through. Yeah, it's like I can go through. This is just, I can go through occult, and I can see a lot of occult and Gnostic stuff. But,
Yeah,
I don't remember all the I just don't remember all the names for it
No,
anymore because I
that's
don't
fine.
do
That's
it.
fine. That's fine.
I don't do it anymore.
I
No.
think the golden circle is a little different than the circle and the point.
Right. It is different.
Yeah, okay. So okay. But I wonder.
Because each symbol adds a layer of meaning to
Sure.
the other symbol that's involved. So
Sure.
this is that's the thing with all occult symbols is
They have depth, just like real Yahweh.
there's
symbols,
layers.
right?
There's layers.
They have
depth.
their own padres. It's twisted, but they have their own padres.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the ring has to do with the golden circle. I don't I tried to search on it, but I don't have the real name. So
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
One of the things that really stood out, one of the thing, I mean, the thing that really was kind of revealed to me was that, what is it that gives, the interesting thing is that while Satan uses the mystery religion to try to defeat God, his law, and his ways, what gives the mystery religions their power is God, his law, and his ways.
Sure. Which is part of the reason why they, to some extent, have to expose what they're doing, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to do it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so it's and so the ring, the ring is the ring is a very, it's probably, the golden O is probably a good representation, but primarily it's the law.
because the ring has writing on it.
Now, the golden circle is a very much present, very much. Well, the thing about the golden circle is that it's the occult symbolism for the eternal round.
Is it for the eternal round?
Yeah, because it's going around forever.
Well,
Never stop.
so well, it could be, but I was thinking it was something else, like their own Gnostic type of system, but I could be wrong. This is where I'm not
The thing
an
is,
expert on the occult.
Yeah,
Or-
that's why the infinity symbol is basically two golden circles run into each other.
I could see that. They're kind of meshed together, which could
They
be the
mesh
two
together.
sides of it, right? The good and the evil, possibly.
That's right. And going on forever and ever.
Because that's what the black and white is. The yin and the yang is the good and the evil working together.
Right.
Well, the good and the evil, they're both anyways.
Evil. They're both
Yeah,
evil.
they're both evil. Just one's much more evil than the other, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, the golden, the golden O is the
it's just
eternal.
that's kind of like it's a one of the top things for the occult is the
And if you
golden
go into
circle.
the golden circle, yeah, because the golden circle is also, um, it's also basis for a lot of, it's also the basis for a lot of, like the basis on the inside for a lot of the hexagrams and the what have you for
Oh, that
Wiccan
reminds me.
ceremonies.
I have seen Truth Unedited in the past, and I've liked the
Mhm.
videos I have seen from them. In fact, and this may be helpful here. I have some in my huge watch list that deals with some of the symbols of Masonry that may give us some, may help a little bit with this, because I mean, we're going to have some of this stuff in there, like, and it includes the Star of David, which is satanic. But I can
Oh,
see
yeah,
if I
it's
could
all
find
it's
those
it's
again.
yeah, it's based on that's based on Star of David is very occult.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
The Jews didn't use it until the Rothschilds made the current Israel.
the Jews did not use that symbol until the Ashkenazi.
That sounds familiar, but I can't remember what that is off the top of my head.
It's basically the people from the steppes who converted to Judaism.
Okay. The
And
fake
many of
Jews.
them
The fake
and
Jews.
many of what's that?
I think
Yeah,
sometimes they're
fake
called
Jews.
the fake Jews.
Pseudo Jews.
Yeah. And many of the Rothschilds are Ashkenazi.
I didn't know that, but that doesn't surprise me.
As our many of the powerful people in the world right now are descendant of Ashkenazi Jews.
Ah, okay. Okay, well that's probably, I'm getting tired, so I don't know if Zach wants to say anything, or Matt. This is probably good enough powwow for now.
Yeah.
But other than, I think figuring out what the ring is for sure is probably going to be a big part of unlocking
The mystery.
the mystery, the key to
Yeah.
the series. It's just a kind of a gut feeling that I have.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, I definitely see Frodo as just an everyman kind of guy.
I could see that.
How has the devil had his greatest success? When he has trusted every man.
Sure. Another thing also could be, in some respects, the Antichrist is kind of referred as just an average Joe Blow out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you that's definitely implied in Daniel.
Yeah. Which go along with what you guys are saying with Frodo. So we could go along with that.
Yep.
I think
Sorry, say that again, Zach?
didn't last time you say that you thought there was like not going to be a singular antichrist, but the papacy?
Well, the Antichrist, in reality, it's the papacy, in my opinion. It's a system. But
Right.
the way it gets representative in these Gnostic movies, it is an individual person, though.
I think that the papacy is just the face of it now. That's the point. The papacy, the church, is Sauron, Mordor. They must be destroyed, or else Satan himself will never be worshipped outright.
And that's a possibility, because the papacy is kind of a mixture of the good and the evil, making it so he's not
Yeah.
worshipped outright, right? Because
Yeah.
it's the old ways under the guise of Christianity, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Exactly.
lost some of
It's
its
still a
power.
guy. It's still a guise.
Yeah,
It's still a guise.
so that's a possibility.
And Aragorn represents the dominion of Satan, of man.
Sure.
Which to these people would be the ushering in of peace.
So that reminds me of one thing I read. I don't know how true it is, but in an interview with J.R. Tolkien,
Mhm.
I think he mentioned, or someone asked him or something along these lines, that the hobbits could represent the Jews. I don't remember too many details or exactly how it's worded, so just keep that in mind.
Mhm. That's an interesting thought.
Along with that, there are some theories which I think may have some substance to them, but papacy was originally started by the Jews and is controlled by the Jews.
It would not be, it could not be, it,
It could
It would
be
make
fake Jews.
it would be the
That
false, it would be false Jews.
sure. Well,
It would be Jews of the synagogue of Satan.
sure.
which would, this is why Simon Magnus would be the very first pope.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what his lineage was. That would be interesting to find out. But
He was a Samaritan. He was a Samaritan,
well,
or he was from the land of Samaria, or he was from Samaria. Whether he was a Samaritan, I don't
well,
know.
right, but that would make me wonder if he was at least an Israelite of some type, right?
Right.
Anyways,
But the thing is that the devil in the end times, just before he's taken down, will be worshipped outright, and those who do not worship him will be destroyed.
so we're recording right now. Are you guys? I can leave this in what goes on YouTube or take it out. I'm fine either way.
Well, I mean, mostly right now we're kind of just spitballing. So
I,
but I think it's some interesting spitballing. That's for sure.
yeah, I think it's
Somebody
interesting.
might find.
So I'm fine. If you guys are fine leaving it, I'll probably just leave it.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Okay.
Anyways, I think that's a good powwow. I do think Ben has a good point. We need to get a general feel for the series, because that's definitely important when we're doing the correlations to see what is what. It's,
Mhm.
first of all, just kind of know the general story, see how the pieces
Yeah.
fit together.
Come to consensus on who the characters are.
Because what I am absolutely convinced of is that what we will find out is a step-by-step plan laid out for the destruction of Mystery Babylon, the ushering in of the kingdom age of the devil.
I could see that as a very strong possibility, right? Because that's kind of the end game.
Yep.
That's happening right now. So, anyways, I think it's definitely past my bedtime.
Oh, sure. So sorry. Okay. Well, I hope you have a good night. We'll see you next Sabbath.
Okay.
And happy fasting.
Yes.
Good.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Bye-bye.